And we are live. We are back with some NA Apprentice Season 2 2021 Group C. I'm, of course, Light_VIP, and with me is the beautiful mLty.
Hello, hello. I'm really excited for these games today. We don't have any Zergs today, but despite that fact, we got some really interesting and exciting players, and I cannot wait to get started.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a shame. Of course I love my Zerg, and I have faith in the Zergs in the other groups, like especially players like Jon Snow. I'm sure they're gonna do amazing. But when I saw the groups and I saw like the up and comers in the region, like I felt like I had to go for Group C.
Yeah, no, Group C is definitely a very interesting group. We've got some very interesting names. Like we got the big name of PiLiPiLi, and then like Ryan and Trigger, I feel like are up and comers in the scene. Haven't quite made it yet. And then we also got Kozan, who's always excellent and interesting.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him because he's surrounded by Protoss. Oh god. But you know, at the same time, we always talk about this when it comes to GSL groups, right? Like he only has one matchup to prepare for.
Yeah. Exactly. And that just makes it so much easier, honestly. But it also makes it a little bit difficult because if your players are watching your games, which I'm not entirely sure if that works out, then like it makes it so you have to prepare a lot more different stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Oh boy. So yeah, everyone give your energy to Kozan right now because he's just surrounded by nothing but Protoss, but hopefully he can do well as well. Kozan is actually the only player here coming in from Code A from those up and down matches.
Yeah, no, and he had a really interesting Code A run last season. I really enjoyed his games, and so I'm excited to see what he has prepared for us tonight. But before that, I think we have a PvP first, don't we?
Oh, the first of many. I hope you love PvP.
I mean, hey, I like rolling dice just as much as the next guy. Let's get this going.
Oh god, here we go. We are getting into our first PvP of the night, as you said, Trigger versus PiLiPiLi.
Yes, and of course, you know, PvP, I think a Trap once said PvP is just like rolling dice at each other, but it can always provide instant game. But before I talk about that too much, we should probably introduce our players.
Yeah, let's get into this. Spawning in bottom right-hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the blue Protoss representing Genesis Gaming. It is PiLiPiLi.
And in the upper left-hand corner, let's give it up for the yellow Protoss player representing Alpha X. Give it up for Trigger.
Oh boy, and you were talking about, you know, some of the up-and-comers in this group, and I feel like the biggest one, especially this year in general, it's got to be Trigger.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. Definitely agree. Trigger's a very interesting player always. And we can see some probe harass already, trying to delay that gas just a little bit. But Trigger nicely handles it, doesn't get too phased. And I feel like you know Trigger a bit better than I do, since I feel like he more often like plays in cups that you end up casting that I just unfortunately don't always have the time to watch. Like most notably, because doesn't he occasionally have like really good runs in the ESL like weekly cups in NA?
Yeah, pretty frequently he shows up for ESL Open Cup Americas. Obviously it's a little bit difficult to get good results there just because it's open to all regions, so we got players like Zest and Admani showing up as well. But like relative to all the other North American players, he does do extremely well. More than that, of course there is the weekly event Battle of the Americas, which is region locked to American and Canadian players. And very recently Trigger actually won a Battle of the Americas, and it was like kind of shocking. Like he has been getting better and better, and he was picked up by Alpha X like now a month ago, I believe. But yeah, like the amount that he has been able to like get like increase in skill over a short period of time has been insane. I believe on NA he's like around 6k or even just above 6k.
Yeah, and he is definitely a very, very good player on the ladder. However, one of the issues with being a very, very good player is occasionally you end up proxying something and your opponent tries to proxy a pylon right next to it. Now, PiLiPiLi changed where is proxying, but not by that much. And so, you know, this is going to be an instant game. That Clown Fiesta might be coming a little bit earlier than expected.
We insert Spider-Man meme here where they're both just pointing at each other, and we'll see what kind of proxy PiLiPiLi goes for. Obviously, Trigger does have the advantage of his being a lot faster with his robo.
Yes, he does. One thing that PiLiPiLi is doing that I really, really like is he has a fake third pylon in his main base. And this, like, it's a little bit of an odd pylon placement, so this, like, will give you some suspicion if, like, you have an adept scout this or whatever. But, like, regardless of that, because it will be an adept range, but regardless of that, you still, like, will think, oh, he has a proxy at home, so, like, he's not going to be doing anything on the map, and then you have this pylon here that might provide some really fast warp ins for some interesting experiences later on.
Yeah, we have a really weird scenario, right? Because if you look at Trigger's vision, he has not checked the main whatsoever. Like with a probe, with anything, he's gambling hard right now. You know, rolling the dice, if you will, as you said, and it kind of makes sense, right? PiLiPiLi is the favorite. PiLiPiLi, like he is such a renowned player in his own right. So Trigger, he's trying to cheese him out, and so far he has been unscouted, and the armies are missing each other.
Yeah, PiLiPiLi's army, like, he walks around and he sees there's no natural, there's no nothing, which is, like, it's nice to see, and you see this open pylon, he's just going to try and run up the base, and he sees there's no army at home, so PiLiPiLi must be wondering what's going on, and right as that happens, there is a massive army for Trigger, just walking up that ramp.
Oh my god. Okay, so who's going to recall first? Right now, actually, PiLiPiLi doesn't have enough energy. Neither player has enough energy. Oh god.
Oh boy, we got like 2 stalkers at home to defend. We have the super pylon keeping the things alive. And is that a recall? Oh, that is a recall for Trigger. Wow.
Okay, and so I thought we were going to go like full base trade, but Trigger, he feels a little bit more confident defending at home, and with his immortal, he should be able to.
Exactly. Immortals do so much damage to stalkers. It's actually insanity, especially when the stalkers don't have blinks. They can't really micro or anything. However, Trigger, I feel like now's your time. Go attack. You have the proxy. You get a warp prism or another immortal. That works too. And just like go for it and like kill your opponent, because you're going to have this immortal lead for basically ever, since you have an immortal and one immortal and he has 0. So like try and put on pressure while you can.
Definitely. I think another thing that we have to bear in mind, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, Trigger, he's also really inexperienced, right? Like he only recently, like he started competing last year in 2020, started like working on becoming GM, and he doesn't have too much tournament play experience. And I think part of that is showing right now, right? Like his indecisiveness, maybe recalling a little bit too soon. He had a little bit of an advantage. He had a little bit of time to recall, so maybe he could have dealt more damage before he went across the map, because you know what, he left the robo alive, and now PiLiPiLi has immortals of his own.
Yes, and the thing about immortals is they're like really good, but like 1 immortal versus 0, or even 2 immortals versus 1, is a lot better than having like say 7 immortals versus 6, because when the numbers get high enough, eventually it doesn't matter. And as I say that, we got adepts in the main base starting to deal probe damage.
Oh boy, yeah, PiLiPiLi does slip 2 in. Again, that's the advantage of him having that proxy pylon, right? He can warp in across the map, and god, damage is being done. Trigger is losing workers. He's got to go.
He has to go now, and go he does, but he's still delaying a bit. He's trying to micro at home, but just like let the probes mine. The stalker will eventually clean things up and attack. Focus on your attack. And the warp prism is finally here, but like don't let it get picked off, man.
Yeah, exactly. Then both players do have to be careful. Make sure they babysit their warp prisms as best they can. As time goes on, PiLiPiLi is working on his next. Oh, actually, Observer, not Immortal. Okay.
Yeah, we got the Observer is like nice, but like still it's it's a robo unit, and robo time is so important. You just need to keep up the immortal count. Luckily, Trigger isn't building immortals as well. We do have a fight going on, and this looks scary.
Oh god, it does. 1 immortal almost goes down for Trigger. Trigger just barely keeping both alive, but regardless, it's so awkward trying to push up a ramp like this.
Especially when like both players can make and warp in sentries, and sentries, they will have energy for a force field basically right away, as we got adepts in the main base now. That's not good.
Oh yeah, exactly. I love it. 2 adepts do morph into the main mineral line, but an immortal goes down for Trigger.
Oh no, that's actually the worst case scenario, especially because he wasn't building any immortals of himself. He doesn't really have the economy for it.
Oh god, and the war prism goes down with the immortal in it as well. I think that's it for the attack for Trigger. I mean, his adepts are doing some damage, but I don't know if that's enough, mate.
I mean, if like one of the problems that Trigger now has is that his highest tech structure, the Robo Bay, is on the other side of the map. And so like even if you were to expand and try and play a macro game, he's gonna run into the problem of his immortals aren't gonna be popping out to defend, whereas PiLiPiLi, his immortals could just like pop out right away and Dugan. So I feel like Trigger has he still has a nice stalker count and like a decent army, and if he takes a really good fight, he is still in this just fine, but he needs to take that really good fight, and I don't think this is the position you want to be in.
Oh, the immortals are splitting up there from PiLiPiLi, so one immortal is vulnerable. It looks like it will be focused. Oh, no, never mind. It gets saved by the Warp Prism, just barely.
Yes, really nice job by PiLiPiLi. He saves that immortal, that Warp Prism. He keeps it up, and now just the army is completely cut off. You have to recall, and recall he does, but will he get here in time to defend?
That's the big question, as the army is already up the ramp. The shield battery is depowered, and sure, you go to Twilight Council, but you don't have enough time to get Blink.
GG is called. Well played by PiLiPiLi in game one, and I feel like that was a little bit of a throw from our player Trigger.
Yeah, like I was so excited. Like Trigger he definitely had a chance there, right? More than a chance, he had the tech. It was unscouted. He was across the map with an immortal. But, maybe a little bit too trigger happy with the recall, right? Like, he...
Yeah, no, it's a bit unfortunate. I wonder what that game would have been like if he just gone full degenerate, for lack of a better word. Full NA and just gone for the base race.
Yeah. Obviously, it's one of those things where you need to experience that scenario enough to be confident in it, but like 100%, right? Like if he just went for it, depowered everything, maybe focused on a couple of structures, dealt enough damage and then recalled maybe at the last moment, to save your Nexus. Maybe pulled boys across the map, maybe sent boys across the map to your own army and kept them alive. Just go full clown fiesta. The possibilities.
Yes, exactly. But we do have more games ahead of us. This time, it's on Jagannatha, which is a very interesting map. Lots of places for proxy pylon. So I wonder if we're going to have the same situation again. Yeah.
We totally could. We definitely could. And this time it could be PiLiPiLi's turn to actually commit to a proxy.
Yes, I'm still like PiLiPiLi just had such a big brain play. Like I'm gonna make a fake third pylon at home as I proxy a pylon. And just like it was such a big brain play. We should introduce these players before I talk too much about it.
Yes, we should, as we are getting into game number 2 of Jagannatha, or in Jagannatha LE, and in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the American Protoss. He is blue, representing Genesis Gaming, already up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. It is PiLiPiLi.
And in the upper right-hand corner, representing Alpha X and Canada, give it up for the yellow Protoss player of Trigger.
And we do have a couple of probes going across the map, but this time things are looking a little bit more standard.
Yeah, one thing that is very interesting is Trigger is going for a very fast expand build because he's trying to wall off his natural, and this is like not the most common thing, but is recently has received a surge in popularity by Protoss players. They really like this fast natural because they've gotten to this stage in the PvP meta where if you can defend the natural and you can just barely maybe able to do it, especially because your shield batteries are pretty good, then you'll be so much further ahead than an opponent who's just going for like a standard 2-gate into like basically anything.
Definitely.
It's risky.
It's really interesting how the meta is different in certain regions. I know like in Europe, this is insanely popular where like, again, you go for that faster natural expansion, you go for the low ground wall. Meanwhile, as you can imagine, in Korea, just because the Protosses are so much more aggressive, like they typically go for the expansion on the high ground just because of how, how intense things can get. So yeah, really interesting the difference in openers here between the two players.
Yeah, and we do have a probe by PiLiPiLi doing a nice job of scouting and a nice pylon block by Trigger on the other, actually by both players on both sides of the map. as the Zealot will get this pylon down relatively quick, and both players kind of have a full idea of what's going on. And so I'm very curious what the next play is going to be. If PiLiPiLi is going to decide to like send something out and proxy something big, or if he's going to just go for an expand of his own.
Yeah, so far things are looking pretty normal, but as you said, like PiLiPiLi, he scouted this, like it should be on him to be a little bit more aggressive here or do something to get himself to equalize a little bit, because his opponent will be ahead in terms of economy.
Yeah, not by that much. The Nexus isn't that much faster for Trigger than it is for PiLiPiLi. However, he's just going to have a lot PiLiPiLi, that is, easier time defending his Nexus, or because while his wall only protects his main base mineral line from like Adept Shades, if there's a big, like say, Stalker Immortal army that comes in, he's gonna just not have to worry about a bunch of buildings blocking his units in.
Yeah, we've been in that scenario before where like a push comes and your cyber core is under threat, right? And then as soon as that goes down, like, oh my god, now there's no more adepts, there's no more stalkers, like it can be disastrous for the defending Protoss.
Exactly. We do have 2 shield batters going down for PiLiPiLi, whose Twilight Console is already finished. I'm very curious what he's going to go for, and Blink is the tech of choice, and I really like Blink. I feel like a nice massive Blink Stalker attack on like 2 bases with like a couple Immortals could really do quite a lot here.
Yeah, definitely. Blink Stalkers are, of course, a staple in this matchup. We'll keep an eye on, okay, there it is. I was going to say keep an eye on Forge timings to see if he does end up going for an upgrade. There are all-ins that just kind of skip that entirely, but we do see PiLiPiLi is looking towards getting that +1.
Yeah, that +1 is very important. And the biggest timing, I think, for PvP at least, is +2. If you can get +2 in a good like charge out Immortal Archon army, which the players aren't going for yet, but they might eventually, assuming no one dies, is like +2 charge out Immortal Archon is just so much better than not +2 charge out Immortal Archon. That it's somewhat hilarious to watch sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see if we even get to later stages where like we see a couple of like disruptors, like purification novas, like that'd be cool to see. It is a lot more rarer to get into that mid game, right, without the players killing each other, but anything's possible.
It's PvP, man. It's a clown fiesta. Anything can happen, and the rules are made up. As both players, we do finally see Trigger getting his +1 started. It is a bit later. I feel like Trigger's tech is a lot later, but he has just the better economy for longer, and so he's going to have, overall, I think, a slightly bigger army once everything balances out.
Yeah, that's how things should play out, and we'll see if they do. At the moment, we do see Trigger is throwing down, you know, an additional gateway, and it looks like his robo may be that little bit faster, but will that really come into play? It's kind of hard to say, especially since we do see both players are expanding. They're both taking their thirds.
Yeah, so this is definitely in traditional, like the Korean style PvP meta, like getting to a third base definitely means you're just gonna sit back and try and defend the +2 timing versus generally the 2 base player who wants to attack with that +2 timing. So we might get into what you mentioned earlier, the disruptors, maybe the Colossi, or just like the splash units that deal with Zealots so well.
Yeah, this is such like the polar opposite of game 1. Like game 1 was like hyper aggression, like 5-minute game, and here we're just with both players are just kind of chilling, sitting back. The only units they've sent across the map are really like hallucinations and the initial like probes. Like they've just been incredibly passive.
Exactly, and as they're building up, I'm curious what like the players' reasoning are, because for PiLiPiLi it makes some sense. Like, I'm the better player, I just want to kind of sit back, and if the game goes on long enough, I'll win. But for Trigger here, it's like I feel like if you like, there are kind of 2 mindsets he might have as he starts to move out with his army. Of like, one being, hey, I kind of want to just show a good game if I go out 0-2. Or like 2, maybe he really does think he can win in a macro game. He's the better player, as we do see Charge starting up behind this first, that Dark Shrine. Oh, that's a really interesting Dark Shrine placement. What?
Ooh. Okay, at the third base. Interesting. It may get spotted. What's important is the hallucination of PiLiPiLi did spot Trigger's army in the center of the map, so there is no real surprise factor here, as Trigger is... yeah, he just goes back. Wow.
I just go home, gonna sit back, relax, and wait for his +2 to finish, I guess, because like it was interesting like time he tried to hit, but with 2 shield batteries and like the high ground of the third base of soccer like that, I really don't feel like there's much he could get done. But he does have the bigger army still, so you know, you never know.
That he does, that he does. The scary thing is that he still hasn't scattered the Dark Shrine. When it comes to detection, he does have an observer with his main army, thankfully. So he's not going to straight up die to DTs, but he can be pulled apart. This is really scary.
Yes, and we do have DTs warping in now. We've got like a couple in the Warp Prism as Stalkers blink on that Phoenix, that hallucinated Phoenix, and kill it. And so I really like this play by Trigger, getting some units in the main base, trying to shoo away the Warp Prisms to try and keep everything alive. But it looks like it is going to get in. That's really not good.
Oh god, it does get in. The DTs do get revealed, so now Trigger is aware of them. Thankfully, things aren't, they didn't quite happen at the same time. He's trying to defend his main. He does have the higher immortal count.
Yes, a really nice job by Trigger to shove off that army, but there's a massive DT warp in, and he gets the Forge.
Oh no, exactly. He was already behind in terms of +2, but now he's not going to get it whatsoever. Even he powers a couple of gateways, and the DT's just going to town.
Yes, and as that army, it jumps in once again. Now Trigger, he has this massive army of his own, so like he's gonna win this fight, but the fight in the main base I really feel like is going PiLiPiLi's way, and just like PiLiPiLi taking really good trades. And I feel like if PiLiPiLi doesn't die like right away, because Trigger has to do something, and then Trigger, that is going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. As oh god, a lot of damage was done there. Oh my god, the DT is still in the main. Oh god.
Oh no. They're trying to get it. Stalkers are getting warped in, and it will finally go down, but that is so much damage onto Trigger's army. And the Warp Prism is still alive, it's still there, can come back in, warping more DTs.
Yeah.
As +3 is getting started on the other side of things. Oh jeez.
Like as you were saying, Trigger, like his main army was kind of winning the fight, but at the end of the day, PiLiPiLi did just kind of spread Trigger too thin. Damage was being done. 21 probes went down. As you said, the Warp Prism can just dive back in, and I hope Trigger is a little bit more decisive here. Like he needs to attempt to end the game. He can't continue from here. Like just macro.
Exactly. He does have the bigger army, but like the shield batteries. Oh no, he losing the Immortal for free. That is really not what we want as PiLiPiLi. As this fight is getting going. Oh.
Not at all. Meanwhile, Trigger also loses an Immortal himself and exposes his own by blinking back.
Yeah, what a fight. But like he just has so many Stalkers though.
Yeah, exactly. He blinks forward aggressively. He does take out the Immortals of Trigger. Now Trigger, oh, he actually focused down the detection. Oh no.
What a play. The DTs will eventually clean this whole army up, because there's so many Stalkers. So how much damage can these guys really do while these before they all go down to these DTs?
Exactly. Oh my god, it was insane that in the middle of that fight, PiLiPiLi, he saw the observer of Trigger, he immediately focused down, and now there's no detection whatsoever. So the DTs are trying to clean this up. At the same time, an observer is racing across the map for Trigger as best it can, but oh god, he's forced to blink out.
This is a lot of dead Stalkers. Now Trigger still has that army supply lead, but I don't know, man. There's just that detection is. Oh, it's finally here though, but this is still interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And now that the detection is here, and now that nothing shoots up, there is no threat of Trigger losing his detection, losing his observers, and Trigger will slowly be able to chip away at this army and take everything out.
However, on the other side of things, Trigger only has like 5 probes. DTs have done so much work on the other side of things. So this really is do or die for Trigger, as he is slowly bleeding off Stalkers. But can he do it? He still has a decent army, and he does have Blink, so you know there's always a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Like he's doing a decent job at blinking back, like kiting, but he's losing Stalker after Stalker, and these are Stalkers that he cannot afford to replace.
Exactly. He loses a whole Nexus to a DT. Man, that DT doing work on the other side of the map for PiLiPiLi, as there's just more Stalkers for PiLiPiLi now.
Oh god, that there are not just more Stalkers, but he does have the +2 advantage over the +1 of Trigger, and that is really going to come into play here as Trigger, he's losing the fight.
GG gets called, and PiLiPiLi takes it 2-0.
Wow. Wow, GG, well played. I mean, of course, PiLiPiLi, he did go in as the favorite, but I do think that there's a world where Trigger would have won this 2-0.
I completely agree with you. I feel like Trigger made like so many good decisions, but just he didn't believe in himself enough to like follow through with his like good decisions and like commit and double down with them. Because if he had, I feel like he could have easily won both of those games.
Exactly. Like just small things here and there, you know, protecting his detection, you know, maybe some Blink Stalker micro, keeping his immortals alive, his decisiveness, right, to go across the map. Oh god, just these little things. But that's what's also exciting about Trigger. Like, again, he's very new to the competitive scene. He only started competing last year in 2020, and even then it was like the second half of last year. And he's already looking so good.
Exactly, completely agree. And now we do have we do have a different matchup. We're mixing it up now. Instead, we have a TVP it's a Kozan versus Ryan. So, you know, another interesting, exciting game.
Yeah, exactly. I just I feel bad because, you know, going into this, you know, Trigger versus PiLiPiLi was a really rough matchup, but I hope that Trigger, like, there's a lot of potential there, whether it's this season, whether it's next season. Like, I do imagine that, like, we haven't seen the last of him, and he's still got plenty of room to improve, and I'm sure he will.
Exactly, and he also has like 2 more matches tonight, so there's always like there's a completely realistic chance where he beats both Ryan and Kozan and moves on. But we'll have to wait and see, as we do have, you know, more games ahead of you. So we'll have to wait and find out, see how Trigger does.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait. But as you said, we do have more players in this group. We have our lone Terran trying to stand strong against the mass amount of Protoss here. Oh boy, we'll see if he can pull it off. As spawning in the top right hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have one of said Protoss. We haven't seen him yet. He is the American Red Protoss representing Team Exxon. It is Ryan.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, give it up for the green Terran player. He is Kozan.
Oh boy. And again, Ryan, to me, Ryan was kind of the Trigger of 2020. I don't know if you're too familiar with him. He used to go by Dr. Ryan back in the day.
Oh yeah, I've seen Dr. Ryan. I was curious if it was the same player, but yeah, do go on.
Yeah. There was kind of a meme. I think it was in the middle of last year where he actually changed his name to Ryan, and everyone was like, "Yo, he like lost his doctorate or something. Like, what happened? Like, I don't know, maybe some malpractice. I don't know. When that happened, actually, Patty Mac switched his name to Dr. Patty in protest. He was like, "Mate, what have you done? This is who you are. Your name changes." I shaking my head. But yeah, he has been around for quite some time.
Yeah, Ryan is always an interesting player because I always feel like he does interesting things. And speaking of interesting things, he is proxying a pylon. Now, generally speaking, this is the Terran's job to proxy 2/3 racks in tournaments and never see the strategy lose, but this time it is the Protoss player keeping in with PiLiPiLi and I'm already forgetting the player name, Trigger. Sorry, that's it. Of the last series and proxying in game 1. So far, Protoss players have 100% proxy rate in game 1. Do you think that will continue?
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Oh boy. So Kozan, he did SCV scout, and I think he is aware of a proxy. Like, he's looking all over the map right now with his initial Reaper. Unfortunately, he's checking the wrong side of the map.
Yeah, it's like a 50-50 if you do get it or not, and a lot of the time you want that Reaper like in the main base just to see if they're doing anything, like adding more gateways, taking more gases, whatnot. But no, this is just he's 3 gateway and a warp gate for Ryan. Very interesting build from him. As I haven't seen like just a 3-gate pressure in a while.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that he did get out an Adept as well. So I'm not sure if maybe he'll start warping in additional Adepts. Regardless, this is quite scary. Kozan, even though he hasn't scouted the proxy, he's aware of it, so he did throw down a safety bunker. We'll see how well that's gonna do him though. Oh yeah, he spots the proxy with his SCV.
Yes, he spots the proxy. He does know it's here, but it is a little late as you can't just go and kill it. So you kind of have to sit back a bit and build up more of an army. Maybe get those like second and third racks, and do a third base going before you like really have enough Marines to go and kill it. And so it's a lot of Adepts. So 5 Adepts. Math is hard. This early on is going to be tough for Turn to deal with.
Oh yeah, exactly. He just ignores the bunker. Like he doesn't even matter. Oh my god. Okay, he doesn't manage to shade into the main.
Yes, keeping the Protoss out of the main base is super important, and this is just denying so much mining time. Ryan has to be really happy with what he's managed so far. Oh no, please.
Okay, thankfully Kozan is on top of his supply depot micro, but at the same time, as you said, like these are a lot of wasted mules. Like 2 mules here, almost full energy or full time remaining on them, and they just weren't able to mine at all.
Exactly, and now he's jumping on that bunker. The SUs are no longer here to protect it. The Marines are trying their best here, but Kozan was going for a Hellion Drop build, and the Hellion Drop is not the best matchup here versus like just an Adept Stalker pressure. And I feel like this is just going to be a very dedicated pressure out of our Protoss player Ryan as he forces a lift off. That's not good.
Not good at all, and he's going to be able to bust through the depot. There are no repairs whatsoever. The SCVs are being pulled, but it's a little bit too late. They're going to try and keep the bunker alive.
Yeah, they managed to like get a surround on a couple of the Adepts, but that recall happens as the Hellions are getting dropped, and so it's gonna see, can Kozan deal enough damage to get back in this game?
Oh god, that's the question, and so far he's actually dealt quite a bit. Like a lot of the probes did line up, and wow, the medevac actually escapes.
What a good job by Kozan there. He gets in, gets a good number of probe kills, and gets right back out. Now he's still not like ahead in workers, which is like where ideally you'd want to be after this build. But like he's close enough where like if he drops mules, he can very easily just like be equal in economy and have no chance. But this army is here once again, and does he have enough Marines to fend it off? We'll have to wait and see.
Oh god, that is the question, as right now, like, there is no stim. These are upgradeless Marines, and they can be kited away at. The scary thing is, like, because he went for the opener that he went for, like, he did delay his tank, he did delay his factory production as he relied on his Hellions, so, like, these gateway units from Ryan are still pretty scary.
Exactly, and just Marines are good units, but they're not like that good, especially without upgrades. As we do see more Stalkers warping in, and Stalkers outrange Marines, so this kiting is going to become a lot easier. But there's a siege tank now, so that was going to make life difficult.
That he is, but the siege tank gets focused down, and it will go down.
A really nice job, but losing 3 Stalkers for the siege tank is an interesting trade, to say the least. As Kozan, he manages to shove them so far back, and losing another Stalker for Ryan, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I understand that, like, chipping away at tanks, like, tanks are quite valuable, but as you said, like, losing 3-4 Stalkers in the process, I don't know about that. It will, delay the follow-up push that I'm sure Kozan wants to go for, and behind this, we do see Ryan is expanding and taking his third.
Yes, Ryan making all the correct plays, and as Kozan just content to sit on 2 bases, he's going up to 5 racks, and so he's definitely going for an all-in here, as with +1 probably, just going to try and hit timing when all of his upgrades finish, like Stim, Combat Shield +1, and it's like maybe even pull all the boys. So I'm really excited to see if and what Kozan's response to that will be.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be on Ryan to figure out what's going on, right? Like, at the moment, he's containing his opponent to 2 bases, which is great and all, but he hasn't really been able to see the main. He doesn't know if maybe there is a third on the way. Or, as you said, all the production being thrown down. That's something that Ryan really has to get an eye on. Otherwise, he could be caught off guard.
Exactly, and there's a Raven here, which is gonna like scout out this Observer, and the Stalkers, I believe they have Blink. Blink is research, and so Stalkers could blink up here as the Observer just gets picked off right away. No blinking main base for Orion just yet.
Oh, but the tank is left exposed, and it looks like it will be focused down.
a nice blink micro to get in and blink back, because you really don't want to blink on top of the tank because there's so many Marines and you don't know if stim is done yet, as Ryan is doing a really nice job to like put pressure on this Terran player, as Kozan, he really just wants to get this tank head up, but he cannot.
Yeah, exactly. And what you just said is kind of alarming to me. It does feel like stim is been incredibly delayed. It feels incredibly late. We're going to be like 9 minutes in by the time it finishes, if that. And as that goes on, like these stalkers are still a very big threat.
Yes, and also keep in mind, on the other side of things, Ryan has not just been like AFK making probes and like gateway units. He has a Colossus, he has more tech, he's getting even a high Templar archives for the eventual high Templar as these stalkers micro back and forth against the Marines. And I feel like Kozan just, I don't know if this is the build, man.
Exactly. Like, it's one of those things where you have to be able to adapt to what your opponent's doing, and if you're losing so many like Marines over time, like, is it really worth still going for a 2-base all-in when like your push has been like weakened by such a degree?
Exactly. I feel like Ryan, he had nice builds, as we do have a fight going on. The suckers, they are blinking back, so nice job by Kozan, but I feel like he had really like good ideas, but just like because of how the builds interacted, his all-in has just been delayed so much, and he isn't even pulling the boys for this, so it's going to be a bit weaker than it could be.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that as well. Like, he is going with everything he can, and stim is done, but the Raven, no!
Oh, you can't do like the Raven is so important, because the Raven, it had the energy, it could have shut down most of Colossi, you could stim on top of the rest of them, but without the Raven here, you really can't be here anymore.
Yeah, exactly. With that, another tank goes down. To be fair, there's not a lot of buffer here for the Colossus, so maybe Kozan could have stimmed forward and dove on top of it, but Zealots are warped in.
And Kozan was starting to pick up. He does drop the tanks, and they're getting re-sieged, or should be, I guess, but instead of leaving them in siege mode, as the Colossi, they lose all their buffer. Yes, super battery, but is it going to be enough?
Wow, super batteries. It's pretty OP, as somehow it does keep them alive. Oh my god, the Stalkers, they are warped in as well. The drop, no!
Oh no, losing 2 medevacs. You can't do that. They drop on top of the Stalkers, but just the Colossi, they shred everything. And man, poor Kozan.
Feels bad, man. My hands went off the table when that happened. Not like this. Just like that, Kozan, his army just gets swatted away. All 3 Colossus are still alive, and now Ryan is pushing out across the map with his War Prism. And now the boys are being pulled. Oh boy.
Yes. It's going to be an interesting fight, because the boys are being pulled, so they will buffer a bit, but Colossi are generally pretty good against SCVs, as we do have a weird flank going on. And now the War Prism goes down. You can't do that, Ryan, but...
Yeah, honestly, that fight probably went as best as it could have for Kozan, but in the end, GG does get called.
Yeah, I feel like if Kozan had been, like I said, exactly with that trigger, once again, I feel like a little bit of inexperience led to Kozan not committing as hard as he otherwise could have, and if he had committed a bit harder to some decisions over others, then I feel like he could have easily won that game.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially because we saw Ryan, he had very minimal gateway units, and we saw there were moments there where, hey, the Colossus, they were looking pretty exposed, and if there were those SCVs there to help buffer for the bio, for the tanks, then it's very possible that Kozan would have been able to overwhelm those Colossus and maybe started to snowball from there.
Exactly. But hey, Kozan, he still has good chances, and you never know. We could see my personal favorite Terran build and proxy 2 or 3 racks on the other side of the map, because I've never seen the strategy lose.
Neither have I. It's 100% win rates as far as we have seen. So yeah, maybe Kozan, maybe he's aware of that. Maybe he whips it out. Maybe no one's told him. Oh boy, we'll see.
Yes, as we are loading into Lightshade, and I feel like Lightshade's a better map for Terran than the last map was. But we should probably introduce our players first before I get too far into that.
Yes, we shall. As spawning in the top left-hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the American Protoss player. He is red, representing Team Exxon, currently up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. It is Ryan.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, give it up for the green Terran player representing himself and the US of A. It is Kozan.
Already, mate, I'm disappointed. The Rax, it's at home.
I know, me too. You know, we really ought to someone should get all these Terran players together and say, hey, you know, you should just proxy 2 or 3 Rax on the side of the map. Has 100% win rate in tournaments.
Oh boy, I don't know if we want to unleash that into the world, but you know, maybe it's got to be done. You know, someone has to stop these Protosses.
Exactly, and you know, when you have 3 of them in your group, I feel like eventually you have to start proxying something. Although you never know, there's still time. We could see that proxy factory starport tank drop build. If you remember that from last season, which was very interesting, as Ryan is going to be the one actually to proxy things, taking the classic Protoss route.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan, mate, he's really embracing NA today, and I love it. Not just one game in a series like we saw in the previous series, but so far both games Ryan has thrown out some pylons in the center of the map. And last time Kozan, he was looking for it, didn't quite find it. Maybe he has better luck this time.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one as we do. I feel like this Reaper is gonna a lot of the time that's gonna be a spot where you just want to check, just because it's I feel like this is the spot to proxy stuff.
Okay. He rerouted a little bit, but in the end, he does find the proxy.
Yes, and this is the same build as last time from Ryan, but because it was found so much earlier, you can do so much more as Kozan to prepare. Because one, you have a build of experience against what your opponent is doing, and 2, you can maybe even kill the pylon if you are so inclined, as there are adepts to defend it now. So you do have to have a bit more than just one Reaper unless you want to spend 20 minutes microing the Reaper perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, Kozan, because he's aware of it, he is keeping his Reapers at home. He does have 2 already. He's working on a 3rd, and maybe with 3, with those grenades, he will be able to deal with these adepts and maybe focus on that pylon. Oh yeah, he's moving out.
Nice. And do keep in mind that, technically speaking, if you micro your Reapers perfectly, you can kill an adept, because Reapers outrange adepts, but just barely. And so he is going to get on go by here, and he sees there are no adepts, so he's just going to keep going. This is a really aggressive build from Kozan. He gets on top of the adepts.
Oh, yeah, and it looks like he will be able to kill both adepts. He is taking a couple of losses. He does lose 1 Reaper, but he should be able to clean this up. Uh-oh.
Maybe nice job, doesn't lose any more Reapers other than that first one, and the Hellions and everything gets out, and so he still has a decent sized army to deal with this, and the siege tank's going to be out as well. Man, I'm really liking this spot that Kozan is in.
Oh yeah, definitely. This tank is out so much faster compared to the first game. With it, it's going to be so much easier to defend, and he should be in a much better economic position, much better position in general, moving into the later stages of this game, of Game 2.
Exactly, and if you look this time, he already has a Banshee instead of a Raven this time. So opting to be a bit more aggressive as opposed to going for that power spike with the Raven, as we do have a fight going on.
And that
looks like Kozan will win.
Yeah, one of the Reapers did go down. Again, Ryan is doing a decent job at protecting his proxy location. Oh my god, just continuing to warp in more and more depths. God, this proxy is not going to go down anytime soon. And there's a lot of potential here. Sure, there are tanks to defend, but the adepts could slip past if he's not careful.
I really like this move out of Kozan. He pulls just a couple of SCVs to keep it alive as he shoos away this attack from Ryan.
Oh boy, and what's important is, I think that shade, I think the adepts were able to catch a glimpse of that Banshee. I'm not too sure if the player himself, Ryan, did see it quite yet. Okay, it should be revealed, and hopefully he does get ready at home for it. There we go, shield batteries start being thrown down.
Nice. I really like Ryan's both players' spots here. I feel like both players have made really good decisions. We're going to see how it plays out, as this is a very scary army. here, but there aren't that many upgrades. And so this is hitting a lot earlier than like most pressures, but this is so many zealots though.
That it is, and charge is on the way, so Ryan just has to buy a little bit of time for that to really start kicking in. Ooh, interesting, a bunker being thrown down on the low ground.
This feels like a very old build that I believe Maru used to do back in like 2017 or 2018, as it is putting a lot of pressure on these zealots. They are coming in, they're not going around, and so this is a really nice choke for Kozan. Let's see if Pro's can win.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like the first tank will go down. Yo, the bunker is not done, and the zealots without charge, they already took out 2 tanks. They're gonna get the 3rd.
Oh no, I feel so bad. Kozan, I feel like he looked back at home to micro and he put these SCVs on auto repair and they just repaired each other instead of repairing the tanks. That is not ideal for Terran, but he's still in a nice spot because he has a nice pivot point with this bunker that will let him continue this aggression.
Definitely. I'm just so surprised like how much slow zealots were able to accomplish. Now with charge, like they're terrifying. Like they already killed 3 tanks, there's only 1 tank left. There are 2 banshees, there's a really nice anchor point, but there are already a couple of stalkers. There's still plenty of energy on the shield battery. It's going to be really difficult to really push on from here. Kozan is still continuing to reinforce this position. We'll see if he's going to be able to push on from here. Oh god, it's kind of worrisome.
Exactly. This bunker is about to finish. One of the SCVs did get picked off, but another one will come and finish the bunker. But man, there's so much Protoss here. I don't know.
Oh god, exactly. The zealots are getting on top of that bunker. All the marines will go down, and now what is there really to protect the tanks?
Nothing. As these zealots they get on top of the tanks, they're just shredding through this Terran army. Everything dies basically for Kozan, and he's gonna have to really pull something together for his defense.
Yeah, exactly. The Banshees go down as well, so the threat of a counterattack isn't there. So Ryan now, he's just picking up everything. He's just moving across the map. Oh god, and Kozan, another tank is kind of exposed here in the center, and he's standing and he's trying to fight.
Yeah, and GG gets called, and Ryan takes game number 2. Man, poor Kozan. Just getting bullied both games. I feel like he had such interesting and exciting builds, but he couldn't quite put everything together perfectly for his games to go his way. But still very close games, very interesting games. I'm excited to see what else he has prepared.
Yeah. That game number 2 especially was pretty interesting because, you know, he was able to scout the proxy early on, and it felt like he had this plan that he was executing, right? Like, okay, I see this, I'm going to work on my tank production, I'm going to get out of my banshees, and I'm going to push all together. That angle of attack though did feel really awkward, right? Like throwing down the bunker on the low ground right next to the ramp as well, where your opponent has that high ground advantage and the vision. I guess you could argue that because there are banshees there, like Kozan also has that high ground vision, but it did feel a little bit awkward, and it was just so unfortunate with that repair as well. I'm sure that really did come into play.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I feel like this is a bit of an obscure reference, but I feel like he was just doing like a slightly worse version of the Dolan build. As we do prepare for a PvP that is next in Ryan vs Trigger, both of the up and comers we were talking about. And the Dolan build it's almost the same build, but you do it on one base and you expand a bit later. And so I'm very curious to see if he'll bring out a proper Dolan as opposed to a expanded Dolan. As we do have a PvP next that I am excited for. We got Ryan vs Trigger, and what do you have any thoughts on or predictions for this game?
Oh boy, I feel like a lot of it comes down to whether or not Trigger played this out after or before his series versus PiLiPiLi. I'm sure his series versus PiLiPiLi, I'm sure he was able to reflect on it and learn from it. I know that, especially because Trigger is on Alpha X, and like I am fairly certain that they're a fairly supportive team, and the other players on Alpha X, they're willing to help each other out and practice and work on things together. So I would hope that we see a better Trigger here, a more decisive Trigger regardless. I feel like this match specifically is going to be telling of how the rest of the group is going to turn out.
I completely agree with you. I'm really excited to see what exactly this PvP will turn into. As we do start loading in, Oxide is an interesting map for PvP. It's a very interesting base layout. but we should probably introduce our players a little bit before I start talking too much about it.
Oh boy, here we go. Our second, not our last, PvP of the night. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner is our red American Protoss, representing Team Exxon, just taking down his Terran opponents. Can he do the same to his Protoss? It is Ryan.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner, representing Alpha X Canada and also the Protoss race. Give it up for the Protoss player, Trigger.
Oh boy, and once again, Trigger going for that natural wall.
Yeah, I like this a lot better on maps with a ramp than maps without a ramp. However, I feel because and there are two reasons for that. One, which because you have a ramp, it's a lot harder for the other Protoss player to like push up and like just kill your wall for free as you're trapped behind it, because you need that high ground vision, and you can easier deny high ground vision with a ramp than if you're on the same playing field and there's no high ground vision to deny. However, one of the downsides of this is, like, as I said, it forces you into a very specific play style. And so it shuts out a lot of the worrying and thinking that your opponent has to do, and it just lets them play basically their response. And if you know their response, it makes your life easier because you know what they're probably going to do. But I'm going to have to wait and see as Ryan is mixing it up compared to PiLiPiLi. He's just going for a proxy.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I don't blame him, right? He's proxied 100% of the time, and he's won 100% of the time. So, like, you know, why not just keep going? He's got that Terran proxy Rax mentality going on.
Exactly. And proxy Stargate, but is it going to be scouted right away? Is the vision there?
No, he misses it.
What?
Feels bad.
that is the worst feeling in the world. You go in, you think, oh yeah, no, so I scouted, it can't be there, not too worried. It's probably just like a fake pylon, like over like in the middle of nowhere, if he even knows that there's a pylon missing. But man, if Ryan wins this game, Trigger's gonna be just so tilted from seeing this. Oh man, that's just that would be so tilting.
Yeah, this is just so unfortunate, right? As you said, like Trigger, he knows that there's a proxy pylon somewhere. He's scouting all over the map. You know, he's scouring it as best he can. Unfortunately, he misses it, and now the Oracle is on the way. And what is there at home to defend? There's two Stalkers in the natural, not in the main. There's no shield batteries. Oh, the Stalkers are repositioning a little bit into the center, so maybe they'll be able to respond in time.
You know, I really like this move by Trigger. He doesn't know exactly what's going on as the Oracle just completely gets shut down. Really nice play by the Alpha X Protoss here, because he decided, you know what, I'm going to wall off the natural, prevent the Adepts that he saw move out with his probe that he was sending across the map, and he's like, yeah, so he 100% knows like what his opponent can have at the front, but at the back, you know, he was worried, and he did a good job.
Yeah, definitely. He was able to shut down that Oracle, as you said, already taking quite a bit of damage. And with a Stargate of his own, he was able to get out a Void Ray to defend, and actually committed to keeping that full wall at his natural.
Yes, I like it. I also really like Trigger got a much earlier forge when comparing to his previous games versus PiLiPiLi. Because I feel like with this super fast forward, you get the super fast +1, which leads to that super fast +2. And if the game goes into the state of Charge to the Mortal Archon mirror matchups, that +2 is super important.
Oh yeah, definitely. As we saw, right? I'm sure as Trigger experienced himself, being on the receiving end of that. So, oh boy, so far he is playing this a lot better compared to his initial series that we were able to catch, and the game goes on.
Exactly. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Trigger did see that it was a Void Ray being made from Ryan. Ryan saw that it was Trigger making a Void Ray. And there's always a risk that you have to keep in your head, like, what if they just keep making Void Rays and attacking with like a bunch of Stalkers and Void Rays? Because like Void Rays aren't good long-term units, but they're like kind of a nice cheese you can throw in. And since this is game 1 of the series, it would be like a really interesting reaction to see if like Trigger's like wanted to do something like really cheeky and aggressive, but it looks like instead he's going for the much more standard macro play, and Orion doesn't know it's something that he kind of has to worry about a little bit.
Yeah, it does have to be something he keeps in the back of his mind. I think the other thing that I love about, especially about like NA Apprentice, is that a lot of these NA players, they should be really familiar with each other. Like they all ladder on the NA server, and quite frequently at that. I also wanted to add something I didn't get to mention. Fun fact: Trigger actually won the most recent NA ladder heroes by Fear Dragon. He actually overtook like Nina and Miyamaika and Cham. Like Trigger is incredibly active on the ladder, so he should have a relatively good idea on how these players, you know, play out their matchups.
Exactly, and especially because the NA meta is a lot different than the KR and EU meta, just like by all the players, and just like because there are a lot of idiosyncrasies. Like NA players are a lot more likely to go for like Blink. Disruptor play, as you know, we have the very famous M Canning and Nina, who are both very, very good at that style.
Definitely. As we do see Trigger moving out, Ryan, nicely placed Adept, does spot the War Prism as it leaves the base, and the Adept even manages to get into the natural.
Since Ryan, he should have all the info, but like this third base has to get canceled. Ryan's gonna have to sit on 2 bases for a little bit longer, and to cancel it, he does, as that is a very terrifying army.
Yeah, definitely. There's no Immortals here, but we do have the Void Ray as the backroom. We do have the War Prism behind this to continue to reinforce across the map. Meanwhile, Ryan, he felt confident enough to send 4 Stalkers across the map.
And dude, this is such a huge play. I feel like because if these Stalkers can cancel the base, it turns the whole army around. Man, Ryan, what a play. Because in the ideal world, you get the cancel, but like even gaining the space to turn things around is very nice.
Yeah, definitely. And we see that these 4 Stalkers, they were deterred by the 3 defensive Stalkers of Trigger. So it goes to show again, like maybe a little bit of an experience or nervousness where Trigger, he pulled everything back home to defend when he really didn't need to.
Yeah, I feel like Trigger has maybe been scarred once or twice, like losing a base race or too many. And just like, he's like, you know, I'll pull that, I'll play defense, I'll just play the longer game. I feel like if Trigger just like would go for it more, take on after like some base race. I don't know like many good Protoss base racers, but like Penguin, for example, is an excellent Zerg base racer. As we do have a big fight here, Trigger, Ryan bleeding Stalkers. But to finish my point, I feel like if Trigger just like be more confident with his plays, he would like win a bit more, I guess. I'm not sure if there's a good way to phrase that.
Yeah, like be a little bit more assertive, you know, have that killer instinct, right? Where, you know, there are... Yeah, like there are players like Parting. There are the majority of the Korean players I feel already have this, right, where like they see an opportunity and they seize it, and they know when to go for it. You know, kind of take or play off of your name, you know, pull that trigger, right, go for it. But instead he is kind of a little bit more passive. He's a little bit more defensive, a little bit unsure of himself, and more willing to try and macro out. Maybe he feels confident enough that he can get away with that, but against players like PiLiPiLi and Ryan, we'll see.
Yeah, we do have a big supply lead for Trigger, and Ryan just doesn't have any Immortals, so is it going to be a Blink Stalker versus Blink Stalker? But the shield battery should help as the fight is going. A nice force field though.
Yeah, nice force fields, but it looks like the rest of the army of Trigger does get past it. Overcharge is used and the boys are being pulled.
Oh no, he focuses down the shield battery, the blink forward, and man, this is just too much. Ryan bleeding supply rapidly. This is such a big army.
Yeah, exactly, and just like that, Ryan, he only has a handful of Stalkers left. He is warping in a DT, and there's no detection here. Oh wait, no, there is. Thank God. I thought we were going to see a repeat from PiLiPiLi versus Trigger.
Yeah, really well done by Trigger. He won the game, and he played it a bit safer than like I think necessary, but still he did pull up that when he just had that lead. I feel like from the beginning when that proxy Stargate failed and just delayed the nexus of Ryan by quite a bit. And so nice job by Trigger, but let's see, you know, there's still 2 games. Ryan still has good fighting chances. I want to see what comes next.
He does. He definitely does. Really well done by Trigger. Again, I was a little bit concerned for him. I have to imagine this series was played out after his series versus PiLiPiLi. We did see Ryan was trying to be a little bit cheeky at the end there with that Dark Shrine. Thankfully, this time Trigger had detection with his main army. DTs didn't do anything to him. He was able to just cleanly close out that game. And mate, see, we were doubtful of him. To be fair, he probably could have ended the game earlier, but, you know, he just wanted to make sure he was safe and secure.
Exactly. And so like going for the like 100% play as opposed to like maybe the like 80% play, because like if you walk up that ramp and just like really force it, there's always that like 10 or 20% chance where like they have somehow pulled together an immortal and like a bunch of shield batters or something, and you lose. But just like going back and like it was the correct call, but it wasn't necessarily what I would have done. But we do have, you know, more games. Pillars of Gold is going to be an interesting map for this next one. It's another map with a ramp, so I wonder if Ryan will keep the fast expand builds coming.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see as we are getting into it. I also want to add, like, Ryan, he did a really good job at, you know, just keeping the army at bay. Like, we praised it when he did it. You know, when he sent the handful of stalkers across the map to counterattack, that really bought him a lot of time. You know, he was able to get his third up and running. Unfortunately, he just didn't have the defense, right? Like, he had a single shield battery. Mate, he needed a couple more. He knew that he was at the army deficit.
Exactly.
Yeah, but here we have him. Here he is once again in game number 2 and spawning in the bottom left of Pillars of Gold. It is the American Protoss player. He is red, representing Team Exxon. It is Ryan.
And in that upper right-hand corner, representing not only Alpha X, but the entirety of the country of Canada, give it up for the yellow Protoss player. He is Trigger.
Yes, that's the only Canadian in this group.
Exactly. You know, Team Canada is only sending one player today to our group, as once again, it's that fast expand from Trigger.
Yeah, I kind of like this. I know, again, we were talking about the meta of the different regions, and I know specifically Max Packs, like every single game in the PvP, this is what he does, and he has the confidence and the skill to back it up, to be fair, that he can kind of be this greedy and kind of defend against anything that will come his way, as long as he's on point with his scouting.
Exactly, and I really like what Ryan is doing this game. He's mixing things up. He got the pylon block, and he's instead of going for the like standard 2-gate at the ramp and then get the cyber core and like really delay your tech and your expansion by quite a bit just to get that the early units. Instead, he's going for like basically a 1-gate. This almost looks like what you would do versus a Terran player. The 1-gate and the really fast cyber, but delaying the Nexus to instead go for much faster tech.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if Trigger is the kind of player to take advantage of this, because maybe Ryan is kind of playing his opponent a little bit. Maybe he feels relatively safe enough to do something like this. He knows that Trigger is a little bit of a more passive player, and he's like, okay, you know, I'm not even going to wall off at the ramp or anything like that, right? I'm just going to tech up as soon as possible.
And I, speaking of playing the player, I love this adjustment from Trigger. He's shown that this like really desire to expand quickly in every game that he's gone for this wall off at the natural so far, but this time he goes for that super fast Stargate. And this super fast Stargate, as there's a proxy Twilight Council for Orion, is very nice defensively, especially, you know, because Void Rays are pretty good.
Yeah, we'll see how things turn out here. This is gonna get kind of crazy. Trigger is trying to find that proxy. Obviously, last time he failed to catch the Stargate. We'll see if he's gonna check the bottom right-hand side of the map, as there is a proxy Twilight Council. I imagine we're gonna see a Dark Shrine being thrown down. Oh no, never mind.
It's just a straight up blink build. I like it. I wonder if he's gonna go for like some like 4-gate blink off a, or maybe even 6-gate off a 2-base with like an immortal or something. But this is very, very interesting, because just blink this early on is going to be so dangerous just as a Protoss player. However, one problem he'll have is he has to walk up a ramp, and so he's going to need some sort of high ground vision, whether that be like a sentry hallucination or a like observer or something. I'll have to wait and see what it turns out being.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen this a couple of times where, like, sure, there are going to be a couple of Void Rays defensively, but, like, if you have enough Stalkers, doesn't matter if you have, like, 10 shield batteries behind you with overcharge. Like, the burst damage that Stalkers have is absolutely insane, and they can power through that, that healing and focus down, like, whatever unit is up that ramp. So, yeah, this can be a little bit scary. This can hit hard. We'll see if Trigger figures out, like, what's coming his way.
Exactly. And I really like the robotics bay. He just makes one Void Ray for safety, then he prioritizes getting that robotics bay down so quickly before making a couple more Void Rays. And an observer first is interesting. I feel like I would like a an immortal, but like observer makes sense because you kind of want to go and scout, and you would be probably worried about DTs or something. But regardless, he's going for that double observer. I wonder when he will start to make those immortals.
Yeah. Again, he's playing very safe right now, and I don't blame him, right? Like, he doesn't really know what his opponent's doing. Oh, no, never mind. Actually, he did scout. He did scout the Twilight Council. So, again, he's covering his bases because for all he knows, it actually is DTs, right? So he has to make sure he's safe at home. As he does catch the proxy pylon.
That is such a huge play. He sees the proxy pylon. That was going to be Ryan's warping point for this entire attack. And the fact that it is already gone is going to cause quite a number of problems. And Ryan, since his Nexus was a bit later, I feel like he's in a bit of a tough spot as he is sending that Phoenix across the map. So he can maybe blink in from the one of the potential third base locations to the main if he so desired.
And what's important is that Trigger, like, he has his 2 observers to catch where the army rotates to, and he already has a shield battery in his main. He has 2 in his main, just in case that scenario does happen.
Oh, I really like it. He's trying to get that shield battery at the natural. Unfortunately, Trigger's on top of things and keeps it alive, but it's still really nice by Ryan to, like, poke and prod and try and catch a mistake from this Alpha X player.
Definitely. We do see Ryan, he's trying to, he's rotating around trying to figure out if he wants to go for that natural or that main base. Regardless of his choice, Trigger has eyes on everything, so Trigger should be able to respond. And behind this is great. Ryan, he's expanding. He's not committing.
I really like this out of Ryan. I feel like this is what Trigger should have done in the last game. You have a big, like, army, relatively speaking, so just kind of, like, posture and prod and try and do what you can to slow your opponent down as you, like, take that extra base. Go for I really like this, that charge is almost done. Maybe go for that, like, slightly better charge lot immortal Archon army eventually, or if he's just going to go straight up charge lots. I'm very curious to see what Ryan decides to do.
Exactly. And I love this from Ryan, but you also have to be a little bit concerned as well. You have to respect what Trigger is doing. He's basically forcing Trigger to stay on 2 bases because, again, he's containing him. He's not letting any probes out to expand. And there are a lot of immortals. There's 3. There's a 4th on the way. Like, a counterattack is going to happen, and it's going to hit hard.
Exactly. And one thing I really like is he also starts a second robotics facility. And so I'm very curious if this is going to be that style that you talked about earlier that we haven't quite seen yet of that, like, Disruptor or Colossus play. Maybe as we do have a fight going, these Stalkers, they do blink away, but this is such a scary army from Trigger.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of Void Rays, a lot of Immortals as he does push the army away. Thankfully, Ryan hasn't lost too much. Just a little bit of damage has been dealt to the Stalkers as he does blink away. And now we'll see how good is the defense going to be. We see a couple more shield batteries being thrown down at the 3rd. Charge is done for these Zealots.
Yes, and this is a very nice army. However, one of the problems it has is how do you deal with the Void Rays? Because generally it's going to be these Stalkers, but these Stalkers are not in position for this. And so this is going to be an interesting fight. And I'll recall Izu's. I really like this out of Ryan. Ryan needs to live here, and I feel like this is the way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That recall was key, and with this army, he should have enough to defend, especially with all of these charge lots. And Trigger, he understands that. He respects the army. He does back off.
I like it. There are more Void Rays being made, which is interesting. Oh, recall. He's going to lose a couple of units health, at least. Nothing for free. That was very close. And let's see, can Ryan, like, kill his opponent? The army supplies are basically equal, but this is interesting.
Yeah, I have to favor the composition a little bit for Ryan, right? Like, this is also going to do so well against the Immortals, and he does pull the trigger. He does dive on top of the army.
Yes, what a fight. The Void Rays, they turn on their Super Ray. The Super Battery is on, and, like, the Void Rays are going to beat the Stalkers, but the Zealots, they kind of win the ground fight for the most part. And more come in, but there's, like, a lot left for more for Trigger than there's for Ryan.
Yeah, it was so key. As soon as that battle happened, as soon as it started, the Nexus finished, and so did the shield batteries. And straight away, Overcharge was activated. Like, that was the timing couldn't have been more perfect for Trigger.
Yes, it was wonderfully done. Excellent defense by Trigger. However, one thing is that upgrades are important, and that upgrade, that +1, is getting started for Ryan, and it isn't quite going for Trigger. So Trigger, he's going to have to like play a bit defensively if he does end up starting the upgrade of himself, or he's just going to have to like do something clever to overcome the upgrade advantage if it does complete, though.
Definitely.
Keep in mind, upgrades do take a while.
Yeah, it does feel like maybe it's just slipped Trigger's mind, because he has had the Forge for quite some time and he just hasn't done anything with it quite yet. So it is a little bit unfortunate. We do see Ryan, he is looking to be a little bit aggressive across the map. The Stalkers are trying to blink into the natural and they slip past.
Oh, nice job. There's an Immortal and the Stalkers, they just walk by each other, which is very funny. As Ryan, he's trying to do what damage he can. He's getting pylons here and there. He's kiting away from this Immortal, which is really nice. But there's a cannon and a shield battery. That's going to be causing problems as the Zealots, they get chewed away at the third base. And man, Ryan, not quite getting what he wanted, I guess.
Yeah, there was a lot of potential there. Like, it was, honestly, it's a pretty big deal. He snuck into the main with all those Stalkers, and yeah, it's a bit of a shame he could have gotten an Immortal for free, and if that had happened, then he would have had a little more free reign in the main base. But in the end, Trigger, he was able to defend both ends.
I feel like Trigger's just going for like Protoss mech here, almost in a way, because he's getting like a fleet beacon and he has like Stargate, and he's just like sticking on Stargate and Immortal production. He has like, I think he only has one gateway. Does he?
Ooh, 2 gateways, but again, that's almost nothing. I love this Trigger. What he's playing right now. I don't know if you're familiar with the Brazilian player Nano. This is how Nano plays out his PVT. 1 gateway. No Twilight Council, just mass like 4 or 5 Robos and Stargate, and he goes like, it's this really weird composition, but he makes it work. And Trigger is playing similarly. I was really shocked when I saw double Immortal production. Like, look at the amount of Immortals he has. It's insane.
I know, this is actually ridiculous. Like, this reminds me so much of like mech, but in Protoss. You have like the very like strong units of the Immortals, and like you have the like it has like some buffer units like in Void Rays and some Stalkers and things, but like really these Immortals will just like power through anything on the ground.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the War Prism did sneak in, and it looks like the DTs are gonna find some damage. They do take out the cannon, so there's no immediate detection, but the Observer is not too far behind. And what's important is that everything in the main gets scouted. The fleet beacon gets scouted.
Yes, and so Ryan knows what is coming his way, but can he do anything about it? Because like this, because you can't like stay on ground units forever, because there's these Immortals will mow through anything you make on the ground. But like, can he really switch into Sky Toss later than his opponent? I'm not sure you can, and so it's going to be interesting decisions to make. I'm not quite sure what the correct play is here for Ryan, but continuing to get upgrades and getting those like higher tech units, the Archons, I really like.
Yeah, again, like, it looks like he's committing to the ground, and you can make this work for a little bit, but as you said, eventually over time you need to switch techs, because Immortals are great against carriers, and you of course you have Stalkers to blink on top of exposed carriers. You have your Zealots to deal with the Immortals, because Immortals, they do take quite some time to chip away at Zealots, so the composition can work, but over time Ryan will be overwhelmed, so he has to try and, like, I don't know, stem the tide a little bit, and he's being active. Maybe he can at least deny the 4th.
Yeah, this is an interesting, like, this honestly reminds me of like ZVT in a way, like versus mech, because Ryan here, he has that extra base and he has like the slightly worse army, so like if he just gets enough stuff, he can probably beat the army of Trigger, but he needs to like basically just like trade army after army.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe even take the whole map.
Exactly, and we do see he's trying to engage with the army, but the carriers are coming in. There are just so many Immortals. The Zealots are slowly being taken out. The 4th does get denied, and maybe that's all he wanted. Actually, he's once more, he's going in.
Now he's going for it. That aggressive blink forward is nice. These Zealots are starting to wear thin, but more Warpins are here and on the way. There even is an Observer for Ryan to help out with that vision, though it is probably going to get taken out now.
Oh god, that it is. And honestly, Ryan has traded it incredibly well. If he wanted to, he could probably back off from here and try and tech up, but no, he's continuing to warp in across the map, and maybe he can take this out. The problem is, as time goes on, like, we got 2 carriers being popped out at a time. Like, this is getting better for Trigger.
Exactly, and I really like this from Trigger. He's sending the Void Rays off to like do some harassment, but it is going to get scouted by a Zealot. And like Trigger really doesn't have like a good fourth base option yet, just because his army isn't quite able to defend everything, and so this army of Ryan is going to probably smash into this fourth base from Trigger, as it does have to get canceled.
Yeah, really nice scouting there by Ryan. He sent a couple of Zealots out to all the possible fourth base locations. He does scout where Trigger is trying to expand, and he is denied. So Trigger, really good job. Ryan is doing a really good job at just containing Trigger to 3 bases.
Yes, and Ryan more and more is reminding me of that Zerg player, where just like he's taking more bases, he's denying bases from the mech players who do have a fight going on. This is a lot of damage on these units. The Zealots aren't really here to buffer.
A lot of the move commanded past the army, actually. Finally, the Zealots do come in, and they are getting on top of the Immortals, and they can potentially clean them up. But what about the air battle? All the Archons are getting taken out. But, oh, the Interceptors are starting to run out as well.
Oh, nice job, Ryan. He did win that. It took a while, but he did eventually win it. And since these carriers are going to take so long to rebuild, he has to cancel the fourth base once again. And I feel like Ryan's in his golden spot. This is his opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Like Trigger, his Interceptors need time to rebuild, and Ryan is not giving him that time.
Exactly. There's just such a high amount of units that shoot up. The Archons tanked so much damage there from those carriers, and he didn't kill any of them. Man, what a game!
Wow, exactly. And now all the Void Rays are going down. There's nothing on the ground, so the Stalkers are getting on top of the carriers, and it looks like Ryan is going to be able to just take down the Golden Armada. Wait, or is he? Oh god.
I mean, like, carriers are pretty good, but like, are they that good? Like, you're only on 3 bases, you're only on like 30 probes, and I feel like eventually Ryan is just gonna like just outmass. But I don't know, like carriers are good, and so we'll have to wait and see as the third base is starting to go down.
Yeah, and with that, Trigger is down to less than 2 base economy. The main is mining out, and carriers, they're expensive. They're expensive to upkeep as well, right? You need a mass amount of minerals in the bank to keep replenishing with those interceptors. And Ryan, as that Zerg player, he's expanding all over the place. He's got his 5th base up and running, or he's getting it up and running, and he's playing this out beautifully.
And this is a really nice job by Ryan. And one thing, like, as a Protoss, like, I play Protoss somewhat casually, and the only thing that Protoss makes that is like really good against lots of Archons is lots of Archons, just because they shred most everything. But these carriers, since they outrange the Archons, they're able to do quite a bit of damage, losing so many of the interceptors though to that splash damage. Wow.
Yeah, it's not ideal, right? Because we see Trigger is trying to focus down individual Archons, but when he does that, all the Interceptors bunch up, and then they just get evaporated by the Archon auto attacks. And as we see Trigger, his carriers are forced back. As all that was happening, the Zealots slipped into the natural, more probes are going down. And even if Trigger pushes the army away, like, he's just lost so much in the process.
He's down to 12 workers, and he still has like a good carrier army, but he's just like losing so many of his carriers. And just like, I don't know if he can keep in this. There just wasn't that buffer anymore. The Immortals, they all went down. And I feel like if he had just added like maybe a couple of Archons as well, as GG gets called, and Orion, really a nice job to equalize this series.
GG, well played. This is our first series that is going all the way to that ace match, and I completely agree. I feel like there was definitely an opportunity there for Trigger to throw down a robotic spay. We were talking about it, right? Like, even if he had like a couple of, not necessarily, Archons were doing great. To be fair, Archons would have been beautiful. Yeah. But like, to more seamlessly transition into some kind of AoE like Colossus or Disruptors, like, that would have helped so much protect those Immortals.
Exactly, just like something to like the 2 options are like either Colossus or Disruptors. Like, the Disruptors could have like much more easily dealt with like both the Zealots and like dealt so much damage to the Archons that the carriers would have an easier time cleaning them up. But like, even if like you just made Colossi just like, I'm gonna pew down the Zealots and just make the Immortals have an easier time, I feel like would have been a good play. But just like no splash at all is an interesting decision, and maybe not necessarily the correct one.
Yeah, it did feel like it cost him the game, because at the end of the day, it felt like his Mass Immortal was really cool to counter like the Stalkers, but like pretty early on, I think he identified like charge and the amount of zealots that were on the map, and he needed to account for that. And it felt like he didn't. It felt like he was kind of on a one-track mindset a little bit. You know, he was stuck in his ways. He's like, this is the composition I'm going for, regardless of what my opponent is doing. And as we saw, he did suffer as a result.
Exactly. He felt like he had his decision. He knew what he was going for. Like, I'm gonna play this like immortal carrier style, and then like when he like, okay, you know, there's just like a lot of ground army here, as opposed to like a lot of players might maybe transition into Sky Toss of their own. He just wasn't quite having the right composition for it.
Oh boy! And with that, for the very first time, we're going to that ace match.
Yeah, nice. I'm excited, and it's a new map as well, one we haven't quite seen yet in Romanticide. I mean, this is a very interesting map. I'm curious if Trigger will go for that Sky Toss army again, but first we should probably introduce these players.
That we should, as we are getting into game number 3. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Romanticide, we have our American Protoss. He is red, representing Team Exxon. It is Ryan.
And in the bottom right-hand corner, representing not only Alpha X, but the entire country of Canada, give it up for the Protoss player. He is Trigger.
Oh boy, oh boy. And I do agree with what you said, talking about that Sky Toss style. We're here on Romanticide, where it's a quite large map. So you kind of, I feel like Sky Toss can be a little bit more favored here if he gets to that point. On top of that, because it's such a large map, there's a lot of potential for proxies.
Exactly. However, I don't think we're going to quite get that far, because if you look in Ryan's main base, you see that is a cannon, or not a forge being made. And so this looks like it's going to be a cannon rush.
Oh boy, the bros are pulled. Oh, the probe gets taken out.
Oh, that's not what you want. Like, you tried to get a mineral, and this is interesting. Oh, he's just going to wall off Ryan. I really like this play. I wish he had done this from the start when he saw that it was the natural base he was going for. If you just go for that complete wall off, you wall off so much of your opponent. And Ryan, he does an interesting job of dealing a lot of getting the space. He does get the space up. Oh, that's really nice.
Wow, the instant pylon. It was really interesting. As we saw, Trigger did have a pylon down, and his plan was to cancel it, so his Zealot was able to get in and get on top of that probe. But Ryan was too fast, too quick, and he still got his pylon up and running. It looks like the cannon should be able to finish up.
A really nice job, and there isn't any range units yet, so this probe has so much liberty to get stuff started, even if it is going to get canceled by the Zealot. This cannon is finishing now, and so this will give Ryan so much room, and this Stalker is so late, giving Ryan a lot of breathing room.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Trigger, he was actually supply blocked for a while there, and that is why the Stalker took so long to come out. And now it's too late. The cannon is done. The second cannon in the main will finish up. We'll see if things start to snowball from here. Like, things look pretty good for Trigger, killing the initial probe, but now this second one has just accomplished so much.
Exactly, and it is look like Ryan's going to lose another cannon here. However, with this cannon, it is look like it. Man, I don't know if Ryan can make any forward progress now that Stalkers are out. With the shield battery, it's going to be very difficult. The Zealot can't do too much though, without shield batteries. As it is, the two cannons are probably going to get the Zealot, but can they keep this high ground? I'm not sure.
It doesn't look like it can, right? Like, there we go. The cannon goes down. This other cannon will go down. There is a shield battery, but it's a little bit too late. So Trigger will be able to deal with all of this. And on top of all this, like on top of Trigger defending, he's actually getting a ninja base to the bottom left-hand side of the map.
Oh, this is really nice. However, it does look like Ryan is gonna scout it out. He does see it, but he hasn't quite reacted to it just yet. As Trigger, he is gonna. Oh, I love this. He's just like making a proxy pylon, continuing to degeneracy.
Oh my god, I mean, the potential is there. If Ryan wants to, he could like try and cannon this location and probably have a better time at it, because there isn't really much here. Would you see Ryan does have a stalker out, and how degenerate is he going to be? Okay, there we go, shield battery being thrown down.
I really like this shield battery. It's always going to give him a point that he can return to, as he's going to try and deny this base. And if he can deny the base, then he's going to be in such a nice spot. However, Trigger, excuse me, is just going straight across the map, and Ryan doesn't have any defenses.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm a little bit concerned if Ryan ends up pulling the attention of Trigger to the bottom left-hand side of the map, and Trigger goes there to defend. But I love this Trigger. He's actually going straight into the main base, and there's nothing here. There's only a single Stalker. There's not enough energy for a recall.
He pulls all the probes. He literally just used Chrono on the blink, and so these Stalkers, they are gonna have to walk all the way home. There's a gateway going across the map. A warp gate isn't even done. There's a shield battery which will like help out a bit, but man, like you really want Stalkers here, and they're having to wander from all the way across the map. Worst case scenario.
Exactly, and even then, like, there are only 2 Stalkers for Ryan. Like, they can go down, as one does get focused down, who just barely stays alive, but now a War Prism does join the fray for Trigger.
Yes, and keep in mind, Trigger, he does have that, like, second base. Like, he isn't necessarily mining from it that much, but, like, that second base and the fact that it is a robotics facility with observers coming out, this is going to cause so many problems for our Protoss hero Ryan.
Yeah, every single Stalker is being focused down. Doesn't matter that you have a shield battery. There's just so much DPS being dished out, and even then, Ryan, he's down 10 workers compared to his opponent, and GG gets called.
Trigger, really nice job. He saw what he was doing wrong versus PiLiPiLi, and he made those adjustments. And I feel so bad for Ryan, because cannon rushing on that map is really good, except when the Protoss doesn't bother to play standard. Because that's like the one build where on that map cannon rushing becomes very difficult. But man, what a series.
What a series. What a way to end that series as well. I feel like we got a little bit of everything. Obviously, Ryan was being a little bit more cheeky. You know, we saw plenty of proxies out on the map, whether it was a Stargate, whether it was a Twilight Council, or a straight up cannon rush like this. But Trigger, he was able to stand strong and does take down his first opponent of the day. Or get his first win on the board, I should say.
Yes, really nice job. And we do have, I think, the only player who hasn't won just yet is Kozan, but he does have 2 more games, so you know there still is plenty of opportunity. We might have that like massive tie for we might have a massive tie here, as you know, no one player has gotten too far ahead yet. You know, we're gonna have to wait and see, because I'm not quite sure what the plan is. I believe we're going on a break next. So those games were pretty short, so I don't know. That's you, I think.
Yeah, as we are halfway through the group so far. Still plenty of matches to go. We got a final PvP at the end of the night. That will be PiLiPiLi versus Ryan. But before that, we've got plenty more PvTs featuring Kozan, and we'll see if he's going to be able to make something happen, if he's going to be able to proxy Rax a couple of times maybe, and get a couple of cheeky wins. I would love that. But before we get into that, we will be going on a short 5-minute break. So everyone, make sure to stretch your roaches, hydrate your hydras, and we'll be back. And we are back. We are here with some more NA Apprentice Season 2 2021 Group C. I hope you enjoyed those duct tapes. Give plenty of love to Kuro. I don't know if you saw mLty, but that was a duct tape a little bit dedicated to Kuro and the things we put her through. Feels bad.
Yeah. You know, Kuro, we put her through a lot, but you know, she's always a good sport about it. It's always it's an interesting time.
Exactly. And speaking of an interesting time, we have a couple of PvTs ahead of us.
Yes, I am very excited because PvT, there's just such a wide range of possibilities for the matchup that like basically anything can happen. It's always super exciting because like, is Kozan gonna like be super degen and like proxy 4 racks, or like go proxy 1-1-1 or something, or is he gonna like be much more innovation style where it's like he fakes that he's like doing the he walls off really early and he just like takes a CC and proxies it at the bottom corner of the map? So we'll have to wait and see.
Definitely. As we're going to get into the series, and I agree. Like, I hope Kozan has something special prepared. So far, in the only series we've seen from him, it feels like he's been a very reactive player. I hope to see something that he comes out with, like, kind of pre-prepared and planned, and is able to execute.
Yes, I completely agree with you, and we should probably introduce these players.
We should, as we are here in game number 1 of this brand new best of 3, one of 2 remaining PVTs we have in the top right, the American Protoss representing Genesis Gaming. It is PiLiPiLi.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, it is our green Terran player, representing only himself. Give it up for Kozan.
Oh boy. Kozan, of course, being the only player in this group that made it through the up and down matches all the way from Code A. And I mean, he did a really good job in Code A, as we said, but now he's in the big leagues.
Yes, he's in the very, very top, and he's going to have to pull out his A game, maybe even his S game to win this series. As you know, there is one thing going for him that I've noticed so far in every series so far. The player on the right side in our display has won the series, and so, you know, since he's on the right side and PiLiPiLi's on the left, maybe this time he'll be able to come out on top.
Oh, maybe it's possible. Oh boy, we'll see if that turns out to be true here. So far things look pretty standard. Actually, PiLiPiLi being quite annoying here with this probe. Oh my god.
Yeah, it does quite a bit of damage to that SCV that ends up building the CC, and he delays it a little bit, but not by too terribly much. As you know, it does get chewed away, and you know, everything returns to be appearing normal as Kozan is opting to wall off before he gets that bunker started. It's natural.
That he does. And yeah, so far I'm a little bit disappointed. You know, there's no proxy so far in game 1 by Kozan. Hopefully later on. And I'm really curious to see how diverse his PvT is, because we saw a little bit of it. We were able to see him go for a very fast Hellion drop in the very first series that he played, and honestly, he did fairly well with it. You know, maybe we'll see more of that. Maybe we'll see, I would love to see like some Widowmine drops in the future as well.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. This is, he had some like really good builds, but like the issue with playing Sony products is that if they talk to each other, you might run into issues. And so if he ends up doing just like the same set of builds, maybe he had like one plan for this, like each series, and it worked like, and you know, it didn't work the first time, but it might work this time around, as he is starting that Hellion, but he does cancel it, and ends up, I wonder what he's going to do with this factory here.
Interesting. And there we go. We do have the first Widowmine on the way. It looks to be a little bit more defensive for now. We'll see if he'll continue to pump them out. Does have the starport on the way for that medevac. And what's interesting is that so far PiLiPiLi is playing this out pretty normal. You know, Blink Stalker is pretty standard in this matchup. Kozan did go into the main base earlier, but he was unable to scout that Twilight Council.
Exactly. That is indeed correct. He does have basically no info. Kozan does, as that Widowmine is in a nice position. Like if there's anything aggressive going on, that it would be able to like burrow and maybe cancel that. But as that medevac gets started, I feel like this is just going to be a stock standard mine drop with some, you know, into 3 racks play. And I'm curious if Kozan's going to do the 2 base all in again, where he adds 2 extra racks, or if he's going to take a 3rd CC.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. So far, I don't believe we've seen him take a 3rd CC in his previous series. I think the games didn't last that long. But we'll see if he does take a 3rd. It's cool that he is switching things up and going for a mine drop. I wish it was a little bit more committed, right? We have seen like 4 mine drops. We've seen mine drops with like an armory behind it as well to make sure they're hidden. But yeah, pretty standard so far.
And on the other side of things for PiLiPiLi, he is pulling out all the stops. He's getting a very fast blink, and so these stalkers, they will be able to blink around, but he also is getting observers. And so like the The observer, like just in case this is like some like weird like banshee something, or like it is a mind drop with the armory, he will have that detection, but not just standard mind drop, and he's delaying it quite a bit. So PiLiPiLi might end up just like moving out or something and missing it, but it's getting sent in now, so these stalkers are in a nice position for it.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, like PiLiPiLi, he has blink, he's got detection. He should be perfectly fine against it. Kozan is gonna have a hard time really finding damage with it. But I also appreciate that he's being very, you know, he hasn't gone in quite yet. He's kind of waiting, biding his time, waiting for his opponent to really drop his guard. And hopefully it does pay off for him in the end. As so far it looks like. Okay, it's a little bit sad. Kozan actually scanned in his main base to try and kill the observer, but he missed it.
Oh. You know, that's always really sad. Like he wanted it so bad. You're like, I've scanned it, I've got this, but then now just Marines weren't quite fast enough. I mean, that observer speed buff really is tilting, I guess.
Feels bad.
So on the other side of things, we do have Colossus as the tech of choice. There's no extended thermal lance on the way just yet. But eventually that will probably end up getting researched. And the Colossus, it's really nice for like helping stop any early pressure that Terran can throw at you without a Raven. Because he went for the mind drop that like didn't really do much, this Colossus put any 2-base like super serious pressure to ease unless it gets picked off and completely overextends.
Yeah. Hey, you say the mind drop that didn't do much. Yo, it's the potential's still there. He's still chilling. He's going in. He's actually leaving. Oh no!
Oh no! That like I feel so bad because like he had so much potential. Like I would really like to see him just like leave it there and like wait for a fight. Then as the fight begins, you set up, you get all the flanks, and you stim in, and then just like boost the mind up, and then maybe you clear out a whole mineral line, and you might not win the fight, but you do so much economic damage. It doesn't matter as the DT shrine goes down.
Yeah,
for our Protoss player.
It's such a shame because it literally dealt no damage. Like it didn't even force like lost mining time in a mineral line or anything. As both Widow Mines and the medevac gets taken out. And PiLiPiLi, this is scary, right? A 3-base Protoss, PiLiPiLi at that, like an incredibly experienced Protoss player. And Kozan, I'm a little bit surprised. I thought he was gonna commit to like a 2-base all-in or something, but no, he's taking his third.
Yeah, Kozan, he's just like, he's trying, he just doesn't want to die to anything, I feel like, and he's like, it's this very good build for not dying to anything, as there is, this is a really nice, just dropping on top of the Stalkers is cute. He gets like so many of these Stalkers, but like all the medevacs die.
Oh yeah, exactly. Literally every single medevac goes down, and the problem is that he was looking to go for a Doom Drop into the main base, but the Doom Drop was intercepted by those Stalkers, so he was forced to fight. So much supply lost there for Kozan, and now Kozan is forced to run away, and now I feel like it's go time for PiLiPiLi. He's moving out across the map with 3 Colossus.
I really like this. Kozan does have a small force on the other side of things that can deal quite a bit of damage if he sends it in. However, he has to not lose this 3rd base here, and it's getting morphed in, and that is a lot of Protoss for the Terran to deal with.
Exactly, and the problem is it's just pure bio. Like, there's no tanks, there's no Widow Mines, there's no real backbone to this army, and he's forced to lift up.
And so many SCVs go down. A couple of them do get out, and the CC is like, it's floating, so it won't die right away, but this is just such a scary Protoss army.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of all of that, 14 SCVs went down. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of a counterattack from that small force, but it gets cleaned up by the reinforcements of PiLiPiLi. PiLiPiLi is completely fine at home, fine enough to expand and take a 4th.
Yes, I really like this out of PiLiPiLi. He's just like he's going back. You force lift off, you dealt SCV damage. Now go back and like let your economic lead grow. As we do have a Fear Dragon whereas like I am being called as DT Blink is being researched in addition to disruptors being made.
Oh yeah, there's a huge smile on Fear Dragon's face right now, and he doesn't know why, but he's smiling as the DTs are being morphed in. They're being sent out across the map. Kozan, he's trying to defend at home. He has a decent amount of Vikings now, and that will definitely help against the Colossus. But again, there's still no like anchor point to his army. It feels so vulnerable to what PiLiPiLi has.
Yes, and the CC is once again forced to lift off. This is a really nice bio army, but there's just so much Protoss here as DTs, they come in for the flank, and the scan, it goes down a bit late. He is going to able to clear off all these DTs, but like, does he like win the fight?
Oh, let's find out. And even if he does win the fight, this is great and all, but he lost all his SCVs. His third base was forced to lift. He cleans everything up, but he doesn't have enough to really counterattack.
Yeah, this is an interesting build he's going for. He has like 5 racks and 2 starports. And so he's just like making like Ghost Viking bio, which is like, this isn't a comp I've seen in a while, but like I remember back in like 2019, I think Future and Disrespect were like big fans of this versus the Fast Colossus stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, he did deal with the Colossus, that's great and all, but now there's no Colossus. Now instead there are Disruptors as PiLiPiLi is pushing into the natural base. Doesn't even need to use his Purification Nova as his Stalkers and Zealots clean everything up.
GG, well done by PiLiPiLi. He played that very well. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure from his Terran opponent, Kozan, and I feel a bit bad, but like Kozan, like you need to do something to slow down your Protoss opponent, or you need to go for like a really greedy 3cc build. But like what he did, where he just like kind of waffles a bit in that middle ground, is great for not dying, and is excellent ladder build. If you're a Terran player out there, like that sort of style is great for the ladder, but for in tournament play, it's not necessarily what you are looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I just felt like Kozan couldn't really get anything going his way. Like the drop didn't do anything. I should say the Widowmine drop didn't do anything. He was looking to try and go for a big Doom drop, which was cool, but it got scouted by not just like there were Stalkers in position, there was a Pylon in position as well. Like everything got seen. Kozan really couldn't achieve much in terms of damage to the economy or the production or anything of PiLiPiLi. PiLiPiLi was kind of left alone, and he could do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, and PiLiPiLi is such a great player that if you just let PiLiPiLi do PiLiPiLi things, eventually he'll probably run you over. But you know, it's a whole new game, Kozan, whole new shots, a whole new opportunity to proxy a bunch of barracks on the other side of the map, and so I'm very excited to see what he has in store for us.
Oh, he better, mate. He better. gonna have to send him some DMs after today if we come out of here and there's no proxies. Yeah,
well, the Protoss players have been pulling through, but the one Terran, just like, I don't think he got the memo.
Oh, God, feels bad, man. Feels bad. We'll see. Maybe he gets it at some point in all of these series. Spawning in the top left, we have our Protoss already up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. Representing Genesis Gaming, it is PiLiPiLi.
And in the bottom right-hand corner, down a game and needing to put something together, give it up for the green Terran player representing himself. It is Kozan.
So, other than a proxy, which it doesn't seem like he's going for. What would you like to see come out of our Terran player here against someone like PiLiPiLi?
Something risky. Like, since it's not a proxy that he's going for, like even if it's just like a proxied starport would be nice, but if he's committed to not proxying, like some like 1 racks, like you wall off and you just make 3 CCs and pump out a bunch of Marines. Like really commit to the like degeneracy memes. Like, yeah, like it looks normal, everything's fine. I got a bunker, I got a natural base, but secretly I don't have anything behind this bunker. I'm just making a 3rd CC and I'm going for it. And so, you know, there still is that potential. It makes Marine first instead of Reapers. Interesting.
Yeah, already starting to do things a little bit differently here, foregoing that scouting information, playing a little bit more safer, a little bit more maybe greedy perchance. Oh my God, PiLiPiLi is throwing down the pylon across the map.
You know, we asked for proxy, but I think the wrong player got the message. As PiLiPiLi, he's going for 2 gates at home and that proxy. And Kozan sees that lack of next. He's going to see the 2 gates, and so he's going to have alarm bells ringing.
Yeah, Kozan, he's going to realize what's going on. We should see a bunker being thrown down across the map. You know what? I appreciate these Protoss players. You know, they know what we want. They're here to deliver.
Exactly. They definitely got the memo. We do have a proxy robo, so this is going to be like Immortal with Stalkers. I really like this. This is going to be very scary, as you will have to pull SCVs to defend this bunker. if there aren't SCVs here, I feel like Kozan might just like get run over here, which would be very unfortunate as he's looking for this proxy, and it looks like he will find it with the SCV on the top side.
Yeah. Thankfully, you know, he does have 2 SCVs out on the map checking the north and the south, so he will spot this. He will see the robo, and we'll see what his response is going to be. I mean, as you said, like, he will need some SCVs to help keep that bunker alive. On top of that, he does have a factory on the way, so we'll see if he's able to get a factory unit out in time, whether it be a cyclone or a tank.
I would really love a couple of siege tanks, like one at like the bottom of the ramp on like the unbuildable plates, and maybe one at like the top of the ramp. Would be incredibly nice. He's just giving up the natural completely. He's like saying, you know what, main base it is. And like, I like this. This is a very respectable decision in not risking losing the natural, but instead like losing a bunch of Marines is really unfortunate though.
Yeah, exactly. 2 Marines already going down. The bunker is being delayed, but I 100% agree. I think it's a really smart call to, you know, to evacuate the natural base and try and hold on one. But, you know, it doesn't help that he already is sustaining a couple of losses.
Yeah, and like this natural base is gonna have to get lifted soon. If he isn't careful, he might just lose it. As it is getting lifted and sent to the high ground. Now, the siege tank is about halfway done, but this is a lot of stalkers.
Yeah, it is, and they are slowly chipping away at that CC. SCVs are pulled to keep it alive, but now we have the high ground vision provided by the War Prism. A depot does go down.
And that's really unfortunate, as these stalkers are able to put on a lot of pressure on this barracks, and the siege tank is done, so this will help shoo things away. But still, this is very scary if you're Kozan. You're going to have to be very careful.
Definitely, and ooh, I like this from PiLiPiLi. Like, he isn't 100% committing to this. Really, he's content with containing his opponent to one base, and PiLiPiLi is expanding, taking his own natural.
Yes, however, Kozan, he is sending the SCV across the map. He's going to see that PiLiPiLi does have a natural on the way, and so he'll know, as this War Prism is once again in the main base, and the stalkers on the ground make life a bit difficult for our Terran hero.
Yeah, exactly, especially when there's only one tank like this. So Kozan is being spread thin a little bit, but it looks like for now he is able to defend on both fronts, and he also does confirm that natural with that SCV.
Exactly, and I really like Kozan's play here. Like, yeah, he's taking damage on the barracks, but the siege tanks, they're like nicely positioned, they cover each other, and there's Marines to defend everything, which is really nice. But all the stalkers, they go forward very aggressively.
Oh god, that they do. The tank does go down. The War Prism just barely manages to escape the Viking. I don't know how it's still alive. In the end, Kozan will be able to clean this up, but again, he's pulled all the boys to make this happen.
Yeah, a lot of SCVs going down there, down 7 in total, but you know, he's able to retake the natural, and I feel like he's in not a terrible spot. He just has to get like a 3rd CC going very quickly.
Exactly. And again, like this War Prism has no right to live. It's got 2 HP. It's got 2 health. God damn it. And Kozan was looking for it with his Viking as well. He was searching as best he could. But somehow, some way, the War Prism was barely able to escape and continues to warp in across the map.
Actually ridiculous. And we do have a disruptor and blink on the way. The disruptor's actually here, excuse me. As we this is gonna be interesting time from Kozan, because oh no, please don't lose the Marines.
Oh god, a couple of Marines go down, but the tank is low enough where the stalkers can just pounce on top of it.
Yeah, the stalkers, they get that siege tank, which is very nice, and there's just so much Protoss here. I don't know if Terran has enough.
Oh my god, the bunker does finish up, and it does get filled by Marines, but again, this disruptor will slowly chip away at the bunker, and there's no tank on the way.
He wanted to transition. He thought everything was done, but no, the bunker is starting to go down. SCVs are pulled, but are they in time? It doesn't look like the bunker goes down, and oh no.
GG gets called. Wow, and PiLiPiLi takes the series 2-0.
Oh man, PiLiPiLi, well, he kills the right side only victory, which is nice, but like, I feel so bad for Kozan there. Cause like, he had good ideas, he had like clever stuff, and he just like wasn't, I don't know, I don't think he like quite was able to show off everything he could. But he still has one more series, and I believe his series is next versus Trigger. And so it's that USA-Canada matchup once again, and I'm curious to see what he can bring to this series that it might be different from his other PvTs.
Yeah, definitely. I also agree. Like, I feel bad for Kozan. Like, he thought the aggression was over. I thought the aggression was over. Like, he saw the natural base and he's like, oh, okay, like, PiLiPiLi, all he's doing is just containing me, you know, I should be a little bit more free to expand, I can tech up, I can get some more add-ons, I can get my production going, and in that moment, there's this window where, like, he stops tank production, he stops factory production, he's focusing on his transition, as you were saying, and PiLiPiLi took full advantage of that with very minimal units as well. Like, that was, like, what, 4 Stalkers and a single Disruptor, but like, again, like, he was ready for it. He was ready to go for that because he threw down that robotics bay. He knew that he needed that Disruptor, and somehow, some way, he pulled it off.
Yeah, even like I had observer vision. I'm like, oh yeah, no. So what? Like, I even thought like, oh yeah, Kozan, like, you need to start for the macro game, man. You like get a third, like, really greed out here. But like, I would have been run over too, and I had effectively map hacks, man. And so really well done by PiLiPiLi. Like, being able to win with that little units is it's always impressive. And like PiLiPiLi, his like unit control is just really amazing sometimes.
Definitely. His unit control, his decision making, well done as PiLiPiLi takes the series. But as you said, Kozan, he's been a little bit unlucky so far. He has yet to take a single map, and this is his final chance to do so.
I'm very excited to see what exactly he has in store for us, as Light Shade LE is going to be this next map for our players here. And I am very curious. Do you have any predictions for how the series will go?
I want Kozan to put up a fight so badly. Like, he has it in him. I know he does. At the same time, I like Trigger's pretty good. And, and he's, you know, the player on the rise. I hope it goes to the ace match. Oh boy. But we'll see how this goes as we are spawning in to Light Shade LE, the first game of this best of 3 series. And spawning in the bottom right, we have the Canadian Protoss player. He is yellow, representing Team Alpha X. It is Trigger.
And in the top right hand corner, representing only himself, give it up for the green Terran player. He is Kozan.
Boy, and Kozan hasn't had the best day today. He's been knocked down by both Ryan and PiLiPiLi. There is still this last final Protoss player ahead of him.
Yes, I'm very curious if he does anything differently, because like he's been pretty consistent with like his 1-1-1. I'd like to see maybe like a 3 racks, like just like 3 racks, or like a 1-1-1 into 3rd CC, as opposed to like the more standard, like you get like the 1-1-1, you get all the buildings, then you add more racks, and then you take the 3rd CC. Just like something different. A change from Kozan would be nice.
Oh boy, speaking of different, we have a pylon being thrown down at the 3rd base location for Trigger. I was about to start talking about how Trigger does seem to be a more defensive player, a more macro-oriented player, so maybe we'll see Kozan get into a game that he's more comfortable with. Never mind, as Trigger does throw down a pylon looking to proxy across the map.
This is such a dangerous build. This proxy Stargate is very, very good, and it does. Kozan should have alarm bells going off right now. He's getting that bunker right away, but he does need something on the high ground. And this Reaper, I will have to find this right away. This should be the first spot you check.
Oh boy, yeah, exactly. As the SCV is coming in as well, the Reaper will. No. Okay, he spots to sell it. Thank God.
It's a really nice job. He does get forced back, and he has to micro into it. He sees his shield batteries. He knows what's coming, and he does quite a lot of damage to the Zealot. However, he really wants to be dealing damage to these shield batteries in this pylon. The Zealot will go down, but
yeah, the thing is that the Zealot is really there to just buy time, really. Like, the Zealot isn't that important to what Trigger is going for. Funnily enough, the Zealot is actually the reason why Kozan knows about the proxy, inadvertently. But we do have the first Void Ray on the way. The shield batteries, they're done.
Really nice, and this Adept will delay the CC by so much. That is really unlucky that it does not finish, but man, like, I'm worried here for Kozan, because like you need the starport, but it's not quite done yet. Turret's on the way. There's no bunker on the high ground just yet, and so this might cause some problems.
Yeah, a really interesting decision here by Kozan. His response to defend is going for a missile turret, of all things. Very odd choice. I don't think it's the correct choice.
Yeah, and like this Void Ray, it will get the missile turret down, and he's going to probably get the bunker as well, as there's going to be a Cyclone. The Cyclone does have like good odds. It does really well against Void Rays, but like with the Phoenix being made behind this, oh man, I love this from Trigger. He is really pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, exactly. We do see MagField Accelerators is on the way. The Void Rays are trying to focus it down. Instead, they are just getting a couple of free SCVs that the SCVs are trying to repair it and keep it alive. The missile turret does finish up to protect the production. But as you said, with that Phoenix on the way, yo, that Cyclone, it's not long for this world, mate. Oh god, you have to be so careful with the micro.
Exactly, to be really on top of things. I mean, it is look like he's going to lose both his depots, and so he's going to have to build more. And he's probably going to lose the barracks as well, but he does have Cyclones being made, and so, you know, he's in not a terrible position as the command center starts to get focused. That's not good.
Oh god, not good at all. We do have the Phoenix was revealed, so Kozan is fully aware of the danger of the Phoenix. So he has to kind of babysit his Cyclones, keep them alive, wait for MagField Accelerators to finish up.
Oh, this is really nice. He does almost get one Phoenix, but the shield batteries, they are able to heal it back up and keeps the CC alive, which is very nice, but like he's lost so much of the space in his main base, and it's going to take him quite a while to get it back.
Definitely, and I think the other dangerous thing, the worrisome thing, is that there's no starport on the way. Typically, you kind of like go all out. You get Cyclones out. You get maybe a couple of Vikings as well to help support them. But right now, he's just relying on his Marines and his factory production.
Yeah, and the Cyclones, they are pretty good, and with MagField Accelerator finishing, they're going to deal a lot more damage. But like, I don't know if pure Cyclone is quite the way to do it. Like, a lot of the time, a lot of Terran players hold this off very well with Vikings, and Cyclone just might not be it.
Yeah, to be fair, I think thankfully for Kozan, Trigger isn't like hyper committing to this. He's just containing his opponent. As we've seen before, like he's just expanding behind this. You know, he's got his natural on the way. He's throwing down a couple more gateways. Like, he isn't looking to kill his opponents with this proxy.
Exactly, you know, and with the siege tank coming out on the way, I like this just in case there's like a big ground follow-up behind this, but like you really need enough air units or enough Cyclones or enough just stuff that shoots up to deal with this air army here, and I don't think he quite has that much yet.
Yeah, exactly. As one of the Cyclones does get picked up, immediately taken out. So does the second. And oh my god, is he gonna start just overwhelming his opponent? Oh god.
He loses all three of his Cyclones, and the missile turret will keep him alive for now, but he needs more Cyclones. And I would love to see, instead of that second Rax, maybe a second factory, and just like try and like get enough Cyclones that way. But like the starport's getting started, but there just isn't a whole lot of stuff that shoots up here, and so that's just a problem. I don't know, man.
Yeah, exactly. The Phoenixes of Trigger, they just did a full circle of the entire base. He sees everything. He sees all the production. Trigger must be feeling so safe right now. He's doing whatever he wants. He just crippled the army of Kozan by taking out all those Cyclones, and we see he's just doing whatever he wants. He's got like a Robo on the way. He's got Blink on the way. And what threat does Kozan really pose right now?
Well, Kozan does have Stim on the way, and he does have like a decent sized army. It's not the best army out there, but it is a pretty good one. And so if you were able to get on top of this proxy, then I do think he has a realistic chance of just like completely cleaning it up. And if he trades well enough, I feel like he's still in it, but man, there's like an army coming across the map. And he's down like half the work account, like Kozan. He's on a bit of a timer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Stim is on the way, so maybe he can go for some kind of timing and just pull all the boys and just send it across the map. But oh god, not like this. The tank does get picked up, but the Phoenixes do get taken out.
Really nice job. And the shield batteries, they aren't like quite healing enough as they could be, as this tank is keep showing away. Oh, but the Stalkers sprint forward. That's really bad for Kozan.
Exactly, and now Stim is going to finish up in a couple of seconds, but it's too late. Cyclone's dead, tanks are dead. It's just pure Marine, and in this kind of scenario, like, every Stim will hurt him as well because he doesn't have any medevacs. The first medevac only just now coming out.
Exactly, he needs to clean this army up now, and with this Stim, I feel like he has a good chance at it. With Stalkers, they're able to blink back. SCVs do get pulled, but they're just like clearing this up, man. Kozan, really unfortunate how the builds turned out, but Trigger with a really nice job getting this proxy.
Yeah, really a nice initial proxy, the transition afterwards as well into these Blink Stalkers. We do see a Robotics Bay on the way, so he can go into Colossus or Disruptor, pick your poison. He can go for whatever he wants. He's even safe enough to get a third base from here.
And it looks like PiLiPiLi is just going to blink into the main base. And with the whole army in the natural, it's not ideal, as these Stalkers are doing quite a bit of damage. They do get a Tech Lab, and then they may be looking to fight or just blink out. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I mean, he can do both, right? He does chip away at the army, slowly blinking out of the main base. There are 2 tanks, so Trigger still does have to respect the army of Kozan, but, like, he is still finding bits of damage here and there.
Yeah, and like the 2 Stalkers, they try to go after the tank in the natural, and they do go down, but the tank in the main base dies, but all the Stalkers die for it.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the best trade. It will be if he actually manages to take out this tank. Oh, just barely doesn't. And as you said, finally, all the Stalkers have been taken out. Kozan, maybe he's able to regain control of his main base. I say that, more Stalkers are being warped in. And now there's only 1 tank left.
And the 1 tank, it does have SCVs to keep it alive, but these, but he doesn't quite have the marine production going that he quite wants. As another barracks in the natural base is probably going to get canceled here. But Kozan, like, I feel like he is almost just like in a good position, but not quite.
He's so close. He's almost there. You say good position. He's almost there where he can kind of like safely secure 2 bases. But he needs more than that. He needs so much more than that, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do it. Again, like, Trigger, he's only like containing his opponent with a handful of Stalkers. Eventually, Kozan should be able to break out.
Yeah, but like as you say, like, he will eventually be able to break out. But on the other side of things, you got Colossus, you got like a Charge on the way, you got a Forge and a third base that's already up and fully saturated on the mineral line. It's going to cause problems. This fight is starting to break out, but like, Kozan, man, like, this just isn't quite what you wanted to see.
Yeah, really rough start to his final series as another tank somehow, some way gets picked off by those Stalkers. Kozan, he just can't get more than 1 out at a time. Finally, he gets a second one. He has Concussive Shell in the way, so maybe he's looking to wait for some kind of timing with that. But Trigger has just been so on point with his Stalker control.
This Stalker micro has really been very nice, and he scans and he sees the observer. He's able to get it off, so that'll be very nice. And he's starting to shell away at these shield batteries, which is always a good thing. However, this has spent so much time that he's just economically so far behind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I have to imagine he's gonna go all in from here, right? Like, he's a madman if he decides to throw down a 3rd CC at this stage of the game. Like, it would be crazy. I'm trying to think of like what possibilities does he have. Like, maybe it's some multi-prong, maybe like going for a big Doom drop into the main base. The problem is that he only has 2 medevacs, so it's gonna be really difficult to pull that off. He's pulling a couple boys. I wish he pulled everything, but even with everything, I don't know. He's gonna run into the Colossus.
And there's a fight here in the natural. The tanks aren't quite sieged in time, and they are getting jumped on top of. But man, this fight is not going Kozan's way.
Not at all. GG gets called, and Trigger takes game number 1.
Yes, that's a bit unlucky to lose like that, but these things happen, and you can make adjustments. If he's able, like, maybe he took a short break between games and is able to like mentally reset himself and like really like, okay, so I need to be tighter with my reaction. I need to be more on top of my scouting, because he scouted that so late.
Yeah, it almost seems like he didn't know what was coming his way, because he knew there was a proxy and he saw the shield battery. But when he saw that, he threw down the engineering bay, and I was like, interesting reaction. Like, almost as if he was trying to cover his bases in case there were like DTs or something, so he had detection, maybe. But like, because of that, like, that's a lot of wasted resources. And as we were saying, like, missile turrets aren't exactly the best response against what Trigger was going for.
Yeah, another thing to keep in mind is that it's also very mineral expensive, and he finished his natural CC. And so, like, if he canceled the natural and maybe had gone for like an eBay plus like maybe an extra racks or something, then like I would have liked that a bit better. But like at that point, then like PiLiPiLi, he expands faster, he gets a bit farther ahead, and but it's a different game.
Yeah, exactly. That was a rough game one. We'll see if Kozan can bring it back in game number 2, as we are getting into potentially his final game of the night, his final showing. He's got to win this to make it to the ace match.
You know what? I believe in Kozan. I believe he's gonna proxy like 2 racks and it's gonna win the game for him.
Yeah, he's gonna proxy.
We should probably.
It's gonna be a 1-1-1. It's gonna be. he's gonna proxy everything out of the map. There's plenty of room. Hopefully, maybe. Fingers crossed. Oh god, as we are loading in to Romanticide LE, one of the largest maps, if not the largest map in the current map pool, and we'll see if some of that gets utilized here. Spawning in the bottom right, we have the Canadian Protoss player. He is yellow, representing Team Alpha X. It is Trigger.
And in the top left-hand corner, it is the green Terran player representing the USA and himself. Give it up for Kozan.
Oh boy. And so far, this madman, this Terran, you know what? I've got a lot of respect for this, you know? He knows that Proxy Rax has a 100% win rate, and he wants to give his opponent a chance.
Yeah, I like it. You know, instead of using the Imba strats, it's like, okay, you know, I don't need the broken builds to beat you. I can beat you using the not broken builds of building my bases in my main base. What is this?
What a madman.
Yeah, absolute lunatic, as he is going to scout, and, you know, this probe doing quite a bit of harassment, getting 3 SCVs in the natural for a brief bit.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned when I saw all those SCVs in the natural base. But you know, Kozan, he just really wants to get down his natural.
Yes, it's not delayed by too terribly much, and it is once again a Marine first. I really like this Marine first strategy, just because it gives you so much more gas, and it also gives you like a very fast reactor. And I wonder what he has in store for us.
Yeah, we'll see. It does feel like it may be a little bit of a safer opening. Obviously, this does come at its risks, as he doesn't have the Reaper, so he can't go out on the map, he can't scout, so he's going to be in the dark that little bit longer, but it could be worth it. You know, we were talking about it before, maybe Kozan is looking to go for a more Marine-heavy composition, throw down additional Raxes and an additional 2nd or 3rd Rax, and go for some kind of timing.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
I love it. I asked for this earlier in the day. I'm like, you know, this would be something I would like to see, and he listening in on the stream, I guess. Kozan, I love it. That really 3rd CC build, he's just like going for it. And he's adding more racks as well. Sitting on one, beautiful build. Love this.
Yeah. This is something that we wanted like 2 series ago. We're finally getting it, thank God. And this is great. Hopefully it doesn't fail. Ooh, so far, really good job at denying the Adept, not allowing it to get into the main base.
Yeah, really nice job. This Adept is probably going to pick off a couple of these Marines, but it is losing quite a lot of health, and it will maybe go down. Looks barely going down, but gets a lot of the Marines, and it's a blink follow-up, and so I like this. And, Trigger, he's doing like very normal things, as Kozan's just going to have so many... There's so much production. So a single stalker is going to cause all these issues.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. You know, the Adept went down, but the Adept with the least of his worries, as the Stalker does go across the map. It does pick off a Mule, does take out a couple of SCVs. With these Reapers, though, it looks like Kozan should be able to deal with the Stalker.
And nice job. Loses one of the Reapers, which is a bit unfortunate, but, you know, keeps one of them alive. So he could go and scout, but right now he's just keeping it defensive. He wants to try and deny any and all scouting that he can, as Trigger, she's going for like normal things, and he's like kind of playing it a bit defensively, taking like both natural gases as opposed to maybe taking only 1 and then a 3rd base, but, you know, still fairly normal things from our Protoss player, as Kozan, he's going to have such a great eco if he can just like not die here, which will be, you know, I think he'll be able to.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to finally be getting into a bit of a longer game, it seems like. I love this from Kozan. He did make his Reapers a little bit later, but they do dive in. He gets a full scout off. He sees all the gateways being thrown down. More importantly, he saw that the 3rd base was a little bit delayed, but he confirms that it is being thrown down regardless. And yeah, nicely done. From here, I mean, again, we should see Kozan for now get away with this third CC, and we'll see what he does from here as he throws down another Rax, going up to 3 Raxes.
Yes, I really like this 3 Rax. He is also getting a factory because, like, in general, you kind of want like 3 Rax to like not die to like early stuff from Pardos, but like eventually you do need to go up to 3 and then 5 as Colossus production is finally getting started, but it is not like necessarily as early as it could be, as you know that third base is taken on the way, and there is no real detection here. Like seeing, I don't think Trigger knows about this third base at all, and as some threats are going down, I really like the fact that like Kozan, like yeah, he's playing that greedy economic game, but he's like also trying to check all his boxes to not die.
Yeah, I do think it's a bit of a mistake from Trigger that he's like, again, he hasn't scouted the main base whatsoever. He has no idea what his opponent is really going for. To be fair, like this entire day with all the TVPs that we've seen, Kozan hasn't really done anything too crazy. But you know, Trigger is being a little bit greedy in the sense that like he's, you know, foregoing scouting, and as a result he's playing a little bit more defensive than he really needs to. Like he has Stalkers in position to catch a drop, like a Widowmine drop or a Banshee harass or Raven or anything like that, when none of that of the sort is coming his way.
Exactly, and one thing to keep in mind is that Kozan's SCV count is going to be much higher than it otherwise would be, and so while this looks like a fairly normal timing, like oh yeah, it's a third CC with like, and maybe sent some SCVs, but like his economy, his mule count, and his income has been a lot higher than otherwise necessarily. As that observer does go down, and Kozan, I feel like he's in a pretty nice position this game.
Yeah, definitely. This is great so far. You know, he's up to 3 bases, he's safe and secure. I feel like based off of what we've seen, I feel like this is probably the game that Kozan wanted to get into, like every single PvT we've seen. Like he's like, just let me get up to 3 bases, let me macro. This is what I want to do. So finally we may be able to see Kozan at his best, and we'll see how he does here against someone like Trigger. Trigger, he himself, you know, even though maybe he was a little bit too defensive, like he's also getting into the swing of things. Finally he has his Colossus, finally he has his extended thermal lance. Like his army is still quite solid.
Yes, both the Protoss army is very scary. Just there isn't a whole lot of buffer just yet for it, and so I feel like Trigger is going to have to wait a while, like for charge to finish, for example, maybe an upgrade as well in the Forge, and like just get a bunch of shots, because like without a buffer, having Colossus like aren't that great. This is a very scary force from the Terran.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of potential here for the Terran player to get on top of those Colossus. And Trigger is actually moving out with his army, which is incredibly bold. It looks like for the most part they are going to miss each other. As yeah, they don't. Oh, sorry. Trigger does have an observer in position, so he does spot the army, so he is repositioning. He's rotating around.
Yes, I really like this out of Kozan, but he's lifting off. He's going into the main base, and this army is not that well set up to return to the main base. It's just setting up, and like Kozan, like this posturing is very good, but like the boost in the main base, he needs to boost, and he needs to start dealing damage now as the army is walking back.
Yeah, exactly. It's not in position whatsoever. Oh my god, finally the drop is revealed, and a lot of damage could be done here. There does seem to be a bit of an Artosis pylon. For the most part, only 2 workers have gone down. Does focus the shield battery, but the army is here to finally meet the drop.
Yeah, and he's trying to deal what damage he can with these Colossus. They're able to like just do so much to this army, and he does have to boost out. There is another army, however, heading to the front of the base as these medevacs are kind of forced into a corner.
That they are. It looks like he's going to try and maybe go up the ramp and hit the natural base. At the same time, Trigger, he is looking to expand and take his 4th base. Unfortunately, I really love the drop move by Kozan. Like, he could have done a lot there, but it was thwarted, and he only got 2 workers as a result.
Yeah, really unfortunate. And one thing I really would like to see out of Kozan, the one change I'd make is I'd like to see him making Widow Mines more often, because like a lot of Widow Mines would be very nice against these Zealots that he has. And unfortunately, these Zealots are doing quite a lot of damage at the main base. But there's another drop dealing some damage in the main of Trigger.
Yeah, he does drop, he does trade armies, but this entire time he's just been trading army, and now Trigger, he's confident enough to go across the map. He's got his Colossus. Now we do finally have some of those Widow Mines you were talking about. 2 of the shots go off, but that's it. Those were the only mines.
And these Colossus are here. Massive warp into Zealots as the Warp Prism does able to get the warp in off, and this is not looking good for our Terran hero.
Oh my god, he's forced to pull the boys to try and barely hang on. All of the SCVs go down. 21 SCVs. Thank the players for actually getting game hard for like the first time this night. But oh god, it's not looking good for Kozan whatsoever. He has a couple of Vikings to help deal with the Colossus, but what about the ground army?
Yeah, this ground army is very scary here. He is starting to like be able to hold this, and like with the Widow Mine, like maybe, but like still, there's just so much Protoss here.
Oh god, exactly. With 2 Colossus still remaining alive. One of them is quite close to going down, and the boys are being pulled. It looks like just barely. Kozan is able to stay alive. Oh my god, the Disruptor comes in.
Oh, the Disruptor, beautiful hit onto the one Marauder, able to do so much, but like with all these units on the Colossi, will go down. And Kozan isn't dead yet, and he does have a 4th base, which is nice, but he really needs to like not die here to this second attack. Like he needs like some Bird Widow Mines. I'd like some Liberators or something, but like Trigger, he's taking a little bit of time to kill these rocks. So Kozan, oh no, don't take the 4th base. Give this up, man.
Oh my god, a very ambitious 4th base. He does have 1 Widow Mine, but that's kind of it when it comes to the AoE damage that Kozan has available to him. Thankfully, he's not making any more Vikings. He was able to deal with all of the Colossus, but now there's Charge Lots and there's Archons.
Yes, there's just such a big army, and these like Charge Lot Archon with the 1 Disruptor able to do so much zoning, and Kozan, he calls it GG for Trigger.
Oof, GG, well played. A bit of a better showing there by Kozan in the end. But god, his drops had much to be desired. Like he didn't really get much done with them whatsoever. He was just trading army, right? Like he never got any economic damage done. He wasn't able to snipe off like any key tech structures either.
Yeah, really unfortunate, and Kozan is looking like to be one of those yo-yo players at least this season. But you know, I feel like he has very actionable things he can improve on to have a much better showing next season. And of course, you've only got 1 matchup, which is a bit unfortunate because like maybe his TVP isn't his best matchup. But you know, really unlucky and well played by Trigger. He was really clean in that game, and the really beautiful proxy that just was very late scouted. I loved it. Trigger making all the excellent decisions.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, Trigger does take the series 2-0, and we are looking to get into our final series of the night. And things are starting to get interesting. I'm not really too sure which 2 of these Protosses are going to make it out, because so far PiLiPiLi has won every single one of his series. He's looking to make it out first, but in a PvP against Ryan, it's possible that he could still lose this, and if he does, yeah, we're gonna have to like start counting maps and look at head-to-head and figure out what the hell's gonna go on here.
Yeah, so I'm doing some quick math right now, and like since Trigger has won like 2 series already, so I feel like Ryan needs to beat PiLiPiLi, and I'm pretty sure he needs to beat him 2-0, as I think someone's pointing out in chat right now. Yeah, and so we're gonna have to wait and see what that is, but you know, I'm very excited because PiLiPiLi is a very good player, but Ryan, I feel like he could pull this off. I wonder what builds he'll use though.
Yeah, definitely. It all comes down to the PvPs. Oh boy. All right, here we go. Game number 1. It's going to be on Romanticide. I'm very excited.
Romanticide is an interesting map. It's a very defensive map, relatively speaking, like compared to others. Like the natural is a bit less defensive than, let's say, Pillars of Gold, but like that free base setup is just super easy to defend once you get there. And so I feel like if it does get to that like 3 base stage, then this game could go on for a very long time.
Definitely. Oh boy. We'll see if it goes that long, because again, bearing in mind, Ryan has been incredibly aggressive so far today. I believe he's proxied or gone for a cannon rush every single game. And he's probably going to keep going with that. There's no reason not to. And I love him for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Ryan, he's pulling off so many successful proxies so far this game. Like all the Protoss players have been proxying very well. As we are getting into it, we should probably introduce these players.
That we shall, as we are loading into our final best of 3 for the evening, our final PvP. And here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Romanticide LE. We have the American Protoss. He is red, representing Team Exxon. No longer a doctor. It is just Ryan.
And in the top left-hand corner, representing Genesis Gaming, give it up for our blue Protoss of PiLiPiLi.
Oh my god, and he's doing it again. Forge first.
I love it. Forge first. Forge first is always a very fun build, and this is going to be like a much better cannon rush. I feel this time around. This is a bit of an earlier probe, so it's a small tell from PiLiPiLi, but it doesn't react right away as it looks like the initial pylons might get up. As you know, everything looking very normal for so far.
Yeah, what's interesting as well is that last time when Ryan did this against Trigger, he sent 2 probes across the map. This time there's only 1. Oh my god.
Oh,
my god.
no.
Ah! Oh god.
That is worst case scenario. Like he's sending a probe. He's just gonna like expand and like try and play a macro game. He sent 1 probe and it's just like he barely miscontrolled that. Like he just walled his probe on the wrong side. If that was on the other side, he could probably get a full wall off and he might even deny the whole of the mineral line. But unfortunately, just a little bit early on, putting the 2 pylons down and caused a lot of problems for himself.
Yeah, feels bad, man. Oh god. Ryan, he is a little bit behind here. He is trying to expand behind this PiLiPiLi. I feel like he smells blood in the water. He's throwing down a pylon across the map. He wants to be aggressive, but Ryan, he does spot the pylon.
I really like this out of both players. Ryan going for the cannon. He knows he has to not die. And I'd love to see a cannon in the mineral line going down very soon, because the depths are on the way. But like also denying and delaying this proxy is always a good thing.
If he's able to do it, is the thing. He is chronoing out a Zealot, so the Zealot will be able to head out, and it should be out in time to be able to take down this pylon. As you said, we do see a couple of cannons being thrown down, and oh god, but there's another pylon to help power out that Stargate. I don't know if Ryan can deny this.
Yeah, Ryan, he is sending the pylon to the other side of things. So the Zealot will start on the second pylon, as the first one is going down. But like the Adepts are here, and does Ryan have a defense for them? Is my question.
Oh god, exactly. Like the Zealot is going to be taken out. The Stargate finishes, it will start producing units. And from here, Ryan, he's trying to muster a defense. He's trying to get a wall up and running. But again, there's just so much room for the Adepts to maneuver around, and the Adepts for now are kind of focusing on taking down these Zealots to make sure the Void Ray comes out.
Exactly, they are sitting in the natural for now, and the cannon will like help keep some of these alive, and with the Stalker here, and plus these Adepts taking a lot of damage, like it might not get too much done, but Ryan's already very behind, so this is an interesting spot to be in.
There we go, and the Void Ray is out. There is still a single Adept as well for PiLiPiLi, and now PiLiPiLi can start focusing down the Stalker, and GG gets called.
Yeah, GG. Well played by PiLiPiLi there, and Ryan just like he wasn't able to get the cannon rush off on Romanticide. I feel like Romanticide just like Ryan's cannon rush map every game versus everybody, but it's unlucky.
Yeah, it's a shame because we haven't seen it work.
Yeah.
He cannon rushed against Trigger as well on Romanticide, and Trigger was also able to defend. Maybe it's just too obvious. Maybe a lot of these players have a lot of experience going up against cannon rushes on Romanticide, and Ryan just hasn't been able to find any luck with it.
Yeah, unlucky. And you know, as a Zerg player, it always makes me smile a little bit when I see a cannon rush lose, just because it's so frustrating to deal with. But you know, it's unfortunate for Ryan because you know it's like it didn't like he didn't even get to start his cannon rush. It was just shut down from the very beginning, which is always a bit unlucky.
Definitely. And with that, PiLiPiLi is now ahead in this series 1-0. Can he bring it back here? Again, this is the final series of the night. Because Ryan already lost the game, I don't know if it's possible for him to make it out of this group But regardless, I'm sure he's going to play his heart out.
Yes, I think it depends on like the exact tie breaks and how Sugar has it done. I haven't read the exact rules. There might even be like necessarily a tie break series needed. But before we get into all that, we should probably introduce our players.
Now we shall. As spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Lightshade LE, representing Team Exxon, the American Protoss. He's red. Potentially his final game of the night. Can he pull it off? Can he bring it to the ace match? It is Ryan.
And in the top left-hand corner, representing Genesis Gaming, give it up for our blue Protoss player. He is PiLiPiLi.
He's doing it again.
I love it. I love it. He's sending 2 probes this time, and one of them is going around to avoid the scouting probe of PiLiPiLi. I love this. And he's just going for the immediately, I'm going to get 1 pylon on the high ground, and then I'm going to try and do other things. SCVs get, or as probes, sorry, get pulled right away on this first probe. But, you know, I really like this. Is a really good reaction from PiLiPiLi, I feel like.
Yeah. He's got a probe. He's ready, waiting to like try and block and deny the probe of Ryan. He's ready to try and get us around. The second probe comes in, but it gets denied. No, it's going to go down.
Gets walled off. Ryan, he's trying to do what he can, but just unfortunately both probes go down. This is really unfortunate. He's gonna have to cancel things here. I feel like, unless, yeah, there it goes. He cancels one. The one pylon did get up, and he's sending another probe, but like this isn't what you want to be doing. This is really unlucky for Ryan here.
He's tried 2 games in a row now against PiLiPiLi, and PiLiPiLi, his defense is just too good. Does not let a single cannon up whatsoever. And Ryan, he's forced to expand.
And Ryan seems to be a bit shook. There are a couple of probes that weren't quite mining. He does end up canceling one of his gases, as he is just completely focused on not dying here. He has cannons going up and a gateway in the natural. He's going for the full wall, I feel like, which I think is the correct play.
Yeah, it will mean that any kind of like a depth harass or anything will be completely denied. So Ryan, he's just trying to secure his bases as best he can. And meanwhile, PiLiPiLi going for the exact same response as game number 1. After defending that cannon rush, he is proxying a Stargate.
Yes, I love this. Absolutely, just because you know the tech will be delayed so much that the only real way to defend this is with like cannons and shield batteries. And eventually the cannons and shield batteries will run out. And so if Ryan doesn't know this is coming, which he doesn't have anything on the map, that he will be in a lot of trouble.
Oh god, no, this could just be a repeat of game 1 where the Void Ray shows itself and it's GG. Like, oh god, the Cyber Core just now gets started, which means Warp Gate is going to be delayed, which means it's going to take so long for anti-air to really come out for Ryan.
Exactly, as there's like no units even being made. He's just like making an extra pylon as he's starting to harass one of these gateways, which is nice, but like with the Void Ray on the way, man, I feel so bad for Ryan here.
Yeah, exactly. As the main wall at the natural is slowly being chipped away at, the Void Ray has yet to reveal itself. There is an extra cannon being thrown down, but again, it's all at the natural. There's no defense whatsoever in the main.
Yes, he's making units now, but with his Void Ray here, I don't know if he has enough. Like, he can maybe try and survive in the natural and like evacuate, and that's what he looks like he's gonna do. As this gateway might go down. It will indeed go down, as you know, with everyone breaking in. I'm not sure about this game, man.
Yeah, there's only a single Stalker out here for Ryan. He does get a surround on the gateway army of PiLiPiLi, so it looks like he will be able to clean up the Zealots and the Stalker. And he is relatively safe here at his natural, but his main is completely forfeit. Oh, the pylon powering the Cyber Core is going to be taken out, so no warp gates whatsoever. He's fooling the boys. He's trying to take down the pylons and the Void Ray, but it's not enough.
GG. Well done by PiLiPiLi. He wins the game 2-0. Unfortunately for Ryan, it looks like that's going to be what eliminates him, but he showed really fun games. And, you know, the PvPs, they were all incredibly interesting.
That they were. GG, well played. Ryan, he tried his best there to try and cheese out his opponent a little bit, or at least get ahead in the game, and I don't blame him, because PiLiPiLi, going into this group was the favorite. He is one of the strongest Protoss players in all of North America. So Ryan, he rolled the dice. He hoped to try and get ahead with those Forge first builds, but just didn't quite work out.
Yeah, somewhat unfortunate, but these things happen. And next season, Ryan can always come back even stronger. As there are also, I feel like Ryan made like some easily actionable mistakes that you can improve upon. But PiLiPiLi and Triggerman, got to give it to them. They played really well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because it happened at the very beginning of the day. But if you recall, PiLiPiLi versus Trigger, even though PiLiPiLi did 2-0 that game, if Trigger just tightened up a little bit, it could have very easily been the other way around. It very easily could have been Trigger taking that series 2-0.
Exactly. And since Trigger, he is in the playoff bracket. The playoff bracket hasn't been decided yet, as there is one more group being played tomorrow. But I feel like Trigger has a really good chance of making a decent run in these playoffs.
Definitely. He has so much potential. He does just have to kind of maybe get a little bit more experience, just shake off the nerves a little bit, be a little bit more decisive in the middle of games, and I'm sure he, as well his practice partners and his team, will support him in that. So we'll be keeping a close eye on Trigger, as there have been a couple of other updates. We're talking about the groups. Group A and B have already also finished up.
Yeah, they were very interesting results. I feel like somewhat expected. If you, I don't know if you can pull them up, but Semper and Vindicta from Group A, and then Discondolan from Group B. And I feel like Maples not making it a Group B is a little bit of an upset. I feel like he's a very good player, but yes, so far everything makes sense. And I'm really excited for Group D tomorrow, because that's when all the really top tier Zergs are at.
Yeah, I was about to say, so far, 0 Zergs have advanced. But, of course, Jon Snow, he is a regular. He's a veteran of the North American scene, so Jon Snow should be a favorite to get out of that group. First or second, he should be favored as first, but regardless, he should be able to make it to the playoffs bracket. Uko, I'm hoping for him as well, fingers crossed. But the Protosses are also quite strong in Asuna.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be an interesting series, or series of games, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what exactly happens in it. But that's tomorrow night for you guys to watch. I think that's it for us tonight. I don't think we have anything more.
Yeah, that is it for us for tonight. Congratulations to PiLiPiLi and Trigger for making it through the group. Condolences to Ryan and Kozan, but they are not completely out of it. They are out of Code S, but of course they are relegated to those up and down matches, which we played out after the season, to see if they get knocked down to Code A or if they retain their position in Code S for Season 3.
Yes, it's going to be... I'm really looking forward to those up and down matches. They're always very fun, because you occasionally end up with some yo-yo players, in the very old GSL format. But I'm curious to see what NA players can make it through, and we'll have to wait and find out.
Definitely, as of course we will be covering those on this channel. Speaking of, Group D tomorrow will be casted. I'm not too sure if it's going to be casted by Passer or by Steadfast. A little bit unclear on that, but it will be casted tomorrow. But the rest of the playoff bracket will be casted here on the CranKy Ducklings, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals. So be sure to tune in next week for the quarterfinals.
Exactly. And also give some props to Sugar out there. He puts in so much work to help provide these tournaments for NA players, and so it's always nice to have.
Oh yeah, definitely. As we are going to be wrapping up for the day, our next broadcast will be tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. KST. It will, of course, be Master Swan Open. That will be covered by Steel Mold over here. It is, of course, our bi-weekly amateur event for players up to 4.9k MMR, typically around Masters too. So yeah, be sure to tune into that. mLty, are you going to be playing in that?
I will be doing my best. I have gotten most of my games in I need, because you guys do have that game limit to help prevent that smurfing. And so I've gotten most of my games. I have a couple more that I'm going to end up playing, some tonight and the rest tomorrow. And I'm very looking forward. I'm hoping to make a deep run. And if I get knocked out early, maybe I can join Steel Mold on that cast.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to that. Other than watching you compete in MSO, where can people find more of you?
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at mLtysc. I actually do have some streams planned this week and next week, since no one was covering Code A, and so I reached out to Sugar and make sure that someone was covering it. And so you can find the Code A games over on my stream, at least for the group stages. The playoffs haven't quite been set up yet. But yeah, no, so I'm really looking forward to that, and I also will occasionally stream some ladder and like other things. There's a game called Teamfight Manager that I saw from MC playing it. That is very fun that I might consider streaming as well. But that's later down the line. But of course, what about you, Light? Where can the people find you?
Light_VIP on Twitch and Twitter. I do also stream occasionally throughout the week. I may stream later on this evening. We've yet to see. But yeah, you can follow me there. I do stream, some behind the scenes streams, working on some VODs, working on editing, as well as some ladder streams as well. But I do also want to give a bit of a shout out to you, because it is a shame that Code A wasn't being covered by anyone. It definitely should be. Like we casted it last season, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, like the CranKy Ducklings, we can't cover it because we already cast a lot as it is.
Your week is very busy, and unfortunately, I don't think there are quite enough CranKy Duckling casters to go around. But maybe we can. But at least the games are getting covered. And I think Sugar has the round of 4 and finals being covered by someone else. But I'm just covering up to the round of 8. But regardless, it's nice to see your games cast, which is why I wanted to provide that for other players.
Definitely. It's really cool of you to do that. And I hope the broadcast goes well. Hope it goes well. So best of luck with that. Oh, and with that, we are done for the evening. Do you have any final words regarding the group or NA Apprentice?
I'm really looking forward to see who wins this season, because I don't know, I just feel like it's nice bragging rights to say like, hey, I'm like one of the best players in NA at the minute. Because like you have like me and Scarlet don't necessarily show up, but like other than them, you have like a lot of the very top players in NA. I mean, like so many big names that it's nice to be able to say I'm the best.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since this season, by the time it finishes up, we're gonna be getting into the first season of DreamHack for the year. Like it's right around the corner.
Exactly.
Boy, so it's gonna be really indicative to see which players to keep an eye on for those DreamHack qualifiers, for the DreamHack main events. But with that, thank you everyone for watching, for tuning in. Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Bye.